That's a good shot.
All right, we ready. We get, like you said, we get intimate. We just do an interview. Okay.
We can get as intimate as you want.
Hey, it's your interview. You tell me.
All right. You're the guest, though.
Oh,
I want to make
thank
sure.
you.
I want to make sure you feel
Thank
comfortable.
I'm always comfortable.
All right, that's good. Hello, and welcome to the Final Stage Podcast. I'm your host, William, and today we're going to be talking about how to increase your intimacy with that special someone in your life. That's right. Today, wait, what? What do you mean obstacle course? Oh, it's the wrong show. Wait. I'm terribly sorry, folks. Hello, William here from the Final Stage Podcast, and as joined by ever, my lovely co-host, Arsenette.
Hi.
You don't know it yet, but I put something special in the beginning of the episode.
Okay. I'm like, where is he going with this? Wow. Come on, let's not have our first E rating, okay? We've been doing pretty good.
Hey, look, I didn't say anything that was naughty. Mm-hmm. I used very clean language.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, how was your month? No, seriously, how was your month?
Okay. Well then, my month was very interesting.
Happy birthday to you.
Song's copyrighted.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yes. Many people get that wrong. That song is copyrighted.
Cumpleaños feliz.
I don't think that's a loophole. Anyway. Yes, I indeed celebrated a birthday this past month.
Yay.
On 2/22, no less. I wonder if that's why I named my original website that. Who knows? In celebration of 2/22, as I like to do some years, I uploaded a new video on that date.
Yay.
And as a little surprise to people, it was a new bonus episode of the Mercury Laboratories. I uncovered some old footage from Test 3, which included runs that were cut due to redos. The highlight of which, for me at least, was that one person had to redo his run because of shenanigans by whoever set up one of the obstacles in the beginning of the stage, making it impossible to clear because they tied it up.
I saw that video.
And yeah, that was a real thing that happened, and it was kind of funny. A lot of people who were involved in that particular season of Mercury Laboratories kind of messaged me about it. I was like, oh yeah, that was so great. Like that really brings back some memories. And I was like, yeah, that was a fun one to do. And so they liked it, and that was great. And it makes me wish I could do the show sometimes, but unfortunately I can't for various reasons.
Yeah.
But the good news is that video is up. If you haven't checked it out, check it out.
How old is it?
That video was recorded back in, I want to say, May 2008.
Wow. Only
So
a couple months
almost-
after I started.
Yeah, well, yeah, that particular video, yeah. So that footage is almost 8 years old.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It's 240p. Well, 240 glory.
Yeah.
But also, I said that I wanted February to be my best month ever. Uploaded a couple of other videos. Didn't get as much done as I would have liked. Unfortunately, things happen and stuff. the good news is well, the bad news is that February wasn't my best month ever, but the good news is that it was still my second best month ever. So progress. Since January was my previous second best month ever. So
I expect
forward
March
momentum.
is going to be.
It depends on how many videos I get out and how fast I can edit.
Yeah. Well,
But we'll talk about some of that a little bit later on the show.
yeah.
So, Arsenette, how was your month?
My hair is still on fire. I have a bunch of stuff. First of all, since you had mentioned birthdays, my anniversary is this month for Rambling Rican, which I think is like March 20th or something like that. I have to remember, in which case I have to get on actually changing the banner. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It is March. So, hello, neighbor with their dog downstairs. Yay! So, but yeah, March is the anniversary, and I still can't believe 8 years later, I'm still here. It's just weird because it always reminds me of how I started and just like the strange path that has led me to this day. So it's just really funny. I might do a blog on that. I don't know, but there's a bunch of stuff I'm working on. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before because it always happens where I mention it to one person and not to another. But I started doing some interviews with different people. I'm calling it the State of Sasuke. And as usual, I screwed up the first video.
Hey.
So I'm going to try to see if I can fix it. I had the sound levels off, so I have to kind of manually do that. So I'll get to find out how much of a pain that is after you did it with me back in the episode where we talked about Sasuke for 3 hours. So
Hey.
this one's a lot shorter. This is just basically, trying to see, if there are other things that we can do, to reach a new audience in Japan. And so that's basically the whole premise of it. So I don't know how far it's going to go. I don't know how many people I'm going to be interviewing, that sort of thing. But one person took me up on it, so I'm happy. And I'm scheduled, I think, for at least one more, and then I have to figure out from there. But, so.
But by the way, I just looked it up. Your first post is dated March 25th, 2008.
Wow. Really?
You and funny enough, you did not talk about Sasuke at all on that post.
No, it's I'm here.
You talked, you said, yeah, I'm here, and then you talked a little bit about Azumanga Daioh.
Yes, which is really funny. And that has kind of stayed with me throughout this whole thing. It's funny because I even have people that I've never met before where they know of me. And when it's like a month before the airing of Sasuke on anything, like any year, they send me messages even on Twitter or SMF or whatever, and they go, 1 month to go. I'm like, oh my god, they actually remember that, because I used to use it all the time. I'm tempted to just reuse that again. I don't know. The video is really janky, and the bigger issue is now, some pachinko company now has the license to Azumanga Daioh, so they went after all of my videos that had Azumanga Daioh in it. But I still have them because it was actually referenced to a blog. I did it as a travel blog with at least the one that's still up. And then the other one is so short they can't go after it. So so anyway, either way, I just thought it was I just thought it was funny. Another thing that I'm working on, actually finally got permission to talk about this. This has been going on now for I would say about 6 months or so. There's an outside company, actually an American company, that is doing a documentary. It is called Finding Midoriyama. I'll put that in the show notes, and I'm actually, after I'm finished taping this, I'm going to do a small blurb on my blog. People that have that follow me on SMF noticed that I changed my avatar to Kazuhiko Akiyama holding the sign that says "Hello, Arsenette." It was from his interview. So what's going on is that they're recording individual interviews with American and Japanese and just basically anybody that's tied to the Sasuke world from, all over the world. They originally were going to do about 100, but they're gonna pass it. And so they're gonna compile it into like a movie / miniseries and whatever, and that's gonna be free to the public. I would assume probably later this year, early next year. I'm not sure of the exact timeline, but that's it. I love it because they actually get to interview. They've already interviewed Shingo, Akiyama, Inui, Matachi, Urushihara, Morimoto. They just opened up their Facebook and they're starting to update it and talk to people and whatever. But they have all of the main people in Japan, and then they're gonna be talking to the Americans as well. On their level of interest and how they've gone through to the point where we've gotten to American Ninja Warrior. So it's basically the history of Sasuke up to American Ninja Warrior and everything in between. So I find it interesting. It's been interesting trying to set this up quietly and then set up the interviews and then all of the stuff that has to do with all of that. It's their documentary entirely. I am working with them, but it is theirs. So I'm just happy it's happening because for about 3.5 years I've been bugging Inui for a documentary on Sasuke, and now somebody from the outside came up with it, and I'm so happy I don't have to run it.
Yay.
So I'm excited about that. And the next thing, and I'm glad that I wasn't setting everything up, now that we have an announcement of at least timeline where Sasuke 32 is going to be coming, I'm going to be setting up the fundraiser to pray that I can get back to Japan for this year. So yeah, so I'm probably going to be doing that by this weekend, and still trying to organize. I think somebody's going to be able to try to help me out with the at least part or most of the airfare, and then I'll raise the rest just like I did last year. So I'm hoping that works. So yeah, the month of agony will be March. Because if anybody has ever done any kind of crowdfunding, it shaves years off your life. It really does. It's extremely nerve-wracking. You start staring at it every 5 minutes, and then when nothing happens, because it goes in lulls. You have the big jump in the beginning, and then there's like nothing for like 3 weeks, and then the jump at the end, and then the entire time you swear you're growing an ulcer. So my hope that last year was not the only one, because I have a lot of other stuff that up to this point I can't talk about because it's a lot of dotting I's, crossing T's, and trying to get funding for these things, and to be able to go back to Japan to fill in the gaps that I had from the book from last year, and to try to set up in person some of the projects, because I have 2 major projects, one here in the United States and one in Japan. And so if I have the opportunity to double up that trip with like business meetings, that would be fantastic, but we'll see. So that's gonna be right after this episode pops up, so please look forward to it.
Hey.
Yeah, so
all right then.
Yeah, and then everything else, it's not ready for prime time yet, but once it is, trust me, you'll hear me, screaming from the rooftops. So yeah.
All right then.
Yep.
So, let's talk about some ninjas of the American Warrior variety for a little bit. We got some news. First up, I just wanted to make a little update from last month. We were confused. I guess you say we weren't sure whether or not the USA versus the World special featured had actually acquired the footage from Sasuke 31.
Correct.
You reached out to someone.
Yes.
And
thank you for doing that way.
and it turns out that yes. NBC did in fact license footage from Sasuke 31 to put into USA versus the World.
Yep.
So
they asked
progress.
for clips. So
there you go.
They were provided clips of the competitors that were in the tournament. So those 5, and that's it.
All right.
I wish they had the whole thing, but they only got clips. But it was legit, and you were absolutely right. There was no watermark, and I even went back and I'm like, wait, there is a watermark on it on the 31. Because I know there are certain parts, like even in the latter ones but those were not, like I went to check those clips and there were watermarks everywhere on it. And then when you saw it in USA versus World, there was nothing, and I'm like, he was absolutely right. I need to send messages, and I did, and they're like, yeah. It was brought to their attention last year, and so this year they did ask. So this was like late December or something, because when I found out in November, at that point I had not been contacted. So so that editing was also last minute.
All right. So I guess the old noggin still got it.
I'm actually really happy because there were a lot of things, and this was also what have you done within the time frame. I finally got the USA versus World blogs up, which took me a while to get to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so one thing
by the way, I just want to make this clear. This is, like, I mentioned this in the comments of your blog post, because I don't know if it was completely clear. This is the first A&W related thing that you liked more than I did.
Yes,
like,
it was.
Stop.
And I think the reason why I liked it is because all of the things that I had the majority of the things that I had absolutely raged about, they fixed. Now, they're not going to change the format on me. They're not going to give me back Sasuke because they stole it from me or anything like that. Right. But things like, as level playing field as possible, and if you're going to use a clock, rely on the clock. And not only did they give the clock, they gave the clock to not only the competitors, but the audience could see it as well. So there was never at any point where you had they're hiding something.
Yeah.
And so I was very happy about that.
Here's the thing. I completely agree with everything you just said.
It was still boring to you.
I was just still bored by it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, this is going to sound weird, I was less bored by last year's USA versus the World, despite like more shenanigans going on. Mm-hmm. I don't completely know why. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it this season. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Like, history has been made, as they would say in A&W.
Yeah, we've been on reverse the last couple of months, which is actually pretty funny.
Anyway, moving on to some other A&W news. This is a bit of a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to walk you through this story.
Yep.
So someone on Twitter
posted. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Someone on Twitter posted a promo image for what was advertising a college edition of American Ninja Warrior, featuring contestants between the ages of 18 and 20. Mm-hmm. Now, there was a lot of debate on the legitimacy of this image because, quite frankly, it looked very amateurish. It looked like it was something that was slapped. It looked something that was slapped together very quickly.
Yes.
And in the past, we've had instances in the past of people making fake promos.
Hey. We've talked about either as Canada.
Yeah. Whether it was Ninja Warrior Canada, and then there was that time someone decided to play an April Fool's joke on the SMF forums, claiming that Esquire was going to start showing Ninja Warrior again, and that one fooled me because it looked really good.
Well,
so
the fact that they've done it before, so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility, which made it even worse.
Yes. So when I saw this image, it looked kind of, not true.
Right.
However, someone on the forums got in contact with the A&W guys, and it turns out it was in fact legit. They were planning on making a college version of American Ninja Warrior, and the plan was to film it in the locations where each regional was held. Is going to be held, I should say.
Yeah.
However,
they even delayed the announcement of the cities to try to organize this.
That is right. However, there's a problem because we got an update a few days later saying that the plans have fallen through, and so the project has been canceled for this year. Which means that, assuming things go according to plan, next year there will be a a version of A&W for people between the ages of 18 and 20 years old to compete on.
And the specific thing is that it is not that they're competing in, to get to Vegas. The whole point is to receive a college scholarship.
Yeah, it's a separate entity.
Mm-hmm. I think if I remember, because I'm not reading it right now, what they had suggested was to try to get, like whatever city it is, and try to get the, like the two rivals. So,
yeah. That was another thing. It was supposed to be like rival colleges and stuff that were being represented.
Yeah. I just think whoever came up with the idea, first, it was a fantastic idea because at least there's some option for under 21. I think they came up with it a little too late, and then they tried throwing it on there because you can tell from the casting Twitters, they had the dates as early as late January. Like they had it ready to go, and they said, "Well, we're waiting until we get the confirmation from NBC." And then there was like nothing for like 3 weeks, and then finally they announced it, and then all of a sudden it made a whole lot more sense. Is that now I understand why they delayed it, because they were trying desperately to try to get it, and it just not enough time.
Everything about this like screams this was a last minute idea, and they tried to fit it into the schedule, and it didn't work out.
I'm just happy that when they said that it wasn't going to work out, there's like, okay, now that people know about it and people are interested, we're definitely doing it next year. So plan for it. So
now they have really a whole extra year to prepare.
Yeah, and of course, all of those 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds are going, "Are you freaking kidding me?" The funniest one was this year, going, "I just turned 21. Wait, I'm still in college. Does that work?" I was like, "Nope," because you're gonna still have to go through the regular A&W because it's a separate event. In fact, they were gonna be using the regionals. I don't know if it was before. I think it was probably after they did the regionals, and that would also screw with the timeline because that's an extra day that they have to have booked on each location. Right. So it makes perfect sense why everything was just thrown out of whack.
By the way, for the sake of giving credit, Maddie Rocks was the one who confirmed its legitimacy. So thank you, Maddie Rocks.
Yep, and Grandpa Ninja was the one that found it and posted it on SMF, and then we're like sitting there, no, it isn't. I'm like, look at this. I can do a better job with the Photoshop because, dude, I just found this. So, but yeah, I was happy that Maddie went and actually was like, all right, I have a contact. I'm gonna go check, and oh my god, it's legit.
Yeah, but yeah, like if you look at the image, it's very.
I can do a better job, and I suck at Photoshop.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically. It sounds like it looks like someone was given like 10 minutes.
Yes,
to do this.
And they used like 3 seasons ago.
It wasn't even the current logo. It's an old logo. That's why. That's why people originally thought it was not legit.
Wasn't that from like A&W 2?
They've changed their logo so many times. I don't remember.
I think they've settled on this one. I've seen it and everything. I think they finally settled on it. It's just funny.
Wish they go. I don't know.
I don't like this one.
Anyway.
No, I don't like this logo. It's just a personal thing. I don't like the logo at all. But I think
the current one. Mm-hmm. It's funny because the current one looks like it's a logo for a college.
Yes, exactly.
Would have been very appropriate.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of it.
Yes. Anyway, moving on. So we got some more A&W news. Is that we just mentioned this? They finally announced where the regionals are being held. So this year, for the first time ever, they're actually not starting in Venice Beach, California.
Everybody was so happy. The guys who are from the West Coast are going, finally, you guys get to feel the pain of trying out the obstacles first.
Yeah, because I've mentioned this before. It feels like Venice is generally one of the hardest regions just because they're going first.
They're the guinea pigs. They're like, whoops,
pretty
that
much
won't work. We have to take that out for the next season. Or next city, I mean.
Well, next regional, Anyway, so they are starting in Atlanta, Georgia this year, and they are filming on March 18th and March 19th. So if you're going to be competing in that area, you should be getting confirmation emails soon.
Or should have. Yeah.
or should,
Yeah,
or
they
maybe,
should have,
or maybe
yeah.
even should have. And then they're going to Los Angeles, California, tentatively scheduled for April 8th and April 9th. And then they're going to Indianapolis, Indiana, and they are going to be filming on April 27th and April 28th. And then they're going to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and they will be filming on May 13th and May 14th. And then the fifth and final regional, yes, it appears that there's only 5 this season,
Yep.
is going to be at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they are going to be filming on May 26th and May 27th, which is the Thursday and Friday before Memorial Day.
Yeah. That is Memorial Day
And
weekend.
then, yes, that is Memorial Day weekend. And then finals will be once again in Las Vegas, and it will be filmed between June 15th and June 20th.
Yeah. I'm so surprised by Philly. I'm like, I could roll out of bed. I'm in Philly. That's how close I am to. Like whenever I mention it to people, I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Jersey." And it's like, "Oh, you're from New York." It's like, "No, Philly side." And they're like, "What?" And I explained them. It's like exit 2 on the New Jersey Turnpike. They're like, "What?" Like, yes, that far south. So, but yeah, and I was actually surprised. Somebody, I think it was Ryder on SMF that had mentioned going. He's like, this is one of the first times that they actually have a city, and they are legitimately within city limits, because this is like right on the waterfront. So
Right.
and like that's in Port Richmond. I can go about the location. Again, I'm born and raised in Philly. I was there for like 25 years. I can razz all over
Sadly.
it. And it's just like,
Yeah.
why did you pick Port Richmond? But it's a big open lot. There's like nothing there.
Yeah.
Ever since they took out
Sadly,
the shipping yards, there's like nothing there
Right.
anymore.
Sadly, no New York, which I'm still surprised they haven't gone to New York yet, just because
Dude,
like
you know how
that.
expensive it is to get anything there, and the space
I
that
know.
they need.
I don't know. I mean, just for like marketing purposes, it's always like,
Oh,
hey,
say New York,
City.
and then you're like out in like Poughkeepsie or something.
Exactly. like, dude, like, hey, A&W people, if you're listening, like, bring it to Long Island and just say you're in New York.
Yes,
I mean,
and
technically,
you still
you're
can't
right.
say New York. And that
Yeah,
is exactly what they were
just-
talking about. It's just like you actually
Yeah.
say that, and they're sort
Just
of
don't-
right. They're like 20 miles away from the city. It's like, no, this
Look,
is
but-
part of the city.
But look, just don't say, just don't specify if you're talking about New York City or New York State, and you can do that.
Oh, the latest things that people are talking about are, like the preliminary, like who's gotten the calls, who are expecting, and whatever. Philadelphia's gonna be stacked.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot
Oh
of
my
East Coasters
goodness,
there.
the amount of people, the specific types of people that are gonna be in Philly. The
Yeah,
one nice
I mean,
thing,
I mean,
and before
I,
any,
I imagine James and Drew are going to be there for start. Ryan Stratus is probably going to be there because he's not going to be able to physically compete in Georgia
yeah,
due to his shoulder injury.
I'm hoping that they better send him over there. I mean, seriously.
I imagine they will be willing to accommodate him. I'd be shocked. Like, I'd be legit shocked if they were just like, no, or we'll just not have you on the show then.
Where
'cause
would they put Jeff? I think he's probably gonna be in Philly too.
Where's Jeff located?
Maryland.
Because I forget. Maryland. He's probably going to be in Philadelphia then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's gonna be crazy. Before I
gonna be
forget, A&W they always have tickets available ahead of time. I think it was like
Yes.
on-camera something.com or whatever.
I will link to it in the show notes.
And you just
so
sign up and
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
assuming the website's up,
It
I
is
will
up.
link to it in the show. It is up. Okay.
It is up.
I will link to it in the show notes.
I think what they have right now is where you can sign up to get email notifications when the specific region
Right,
you do
right.
the sign for are available, and they're really good with
Right.
it. That's how everybody gets their tickets. So if
Yeah.
they're not
Also,
competing, they
it's
want to
worth
see it. That's worth
yeah.
watching.
It's also worth mentioning that tickets are free. You just you're essentially just kind of calling dibs on them. But just because you don't have a ticket doesn't mean you can't go and watch. You can like stand around and watch, or if there's empty seats, they'll let you in and sit in them because they want to make sure that they fill all the seats in the stands. Because they don't want to do what happened to X Warrior when it first started with the empty seats, empty stands.
Oh God. Do you remember? Well, the thing about it is, it records at night.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are available with that.
Late
It's like they
night.
like start at like 9, 10
Yeah.
o'clock and then go until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Especially since in many cases, like there are weeknights too. It's not even like a, like a Saturday or anything like that. Also, if you go, there is a possibility, based on testimonials that I've heard, that you could get paid to sit in the audience during the late night hours, because and this is something that, to my understanding, many American game shows do, because they want to make sure they can fill the audience. It makes them look good. I know that remake of American Gladiators that aired on NBC like almost a decade ago at this point, paid people in the crowd. So
I know some locations last year they had more people that they can do, and then the complete opposite, because I think Universal was one of those where they actually had to pay people because of the specific location. So it was sort of like, we need people. And then I think the one that was closer to a college campus, I'm trying to remember which one, they had so many people they had to turn people away. So it was one of the two. So it's better if you can get your tickets early, and prepare to be hurry up and wait.
I mean, if you have a ticket,
it's a long day.
If you have a ticket, you can definitely get in. If you don't have a ticket, there's a chance, but as Arsene mentioned, there is a possibility, depending on the location, that you won't be able to get in. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
Your
mileage will vary.
Exactly. I like that they're scaling back from 6 regionals to 5, because 6 was, quite frankly, too long last season.
Yeah, I think that's why they did it, because they had some rough spots with the ratings, but luckily they made up with it with the final. But if they don't have to, my honest opinion, they're doing that because of the Olympics, because the Olympics, they are the official Olympic carrier, NBC, so they would have to finish by early August. Because there's no way that they're going to put the A&W finals right on top of the Olympics. It's just, that's suicide.
Yeah. And also, I really hope, as someone who is going to watch A&W, I hope, there's 2 hopes I want. First off, so with 15 times 5 is 75. I really hope they have 25 wild cards for Vegas, because then there have been seasons where less than 100 people have run in Vegas, and that's just that's weird. I just think that's weird. I
think that's weird too.
Yeah. So have 25 wild cards. Who's gonna care? Most of them are gonna fail anyway. Just get the number up to 100. Also, this is a personal thing. I honestly, truly believe that the regionals, both qualifying and finals, need a time limit. Because the pacing of the actual runs are too slow, and I swear to God, if I see another run where someone completes an obstacle and they take 2 minutes to celebrate the fact they cleared one obstacle, I am going to rip my hair out, because I am tired of yelling at my television at these people.
On with
exactly.
It.
I just say go. Just because there's no time limit doesn't mean there's no timer, because it's still whoever goes furthest the fastest. If you fail an obstacle and you went really fast, there's still a chance for you to move on. Don't you understand that? This is for your benefit and mine. Go faster.
This is why we don't review A&W, because that would be me. Have to be in the straitjacket in the corner going, get on with it.
That may change come this summer. I have to. Anyway.
Well, I already made my decision.
No, you're not going to do it, but because I'm doing solo stuff now, I may actually do that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Final William podcast, Rage number 16.
Anyway,
you're gonna have to have a little section where Rage of the Week. Why is it that 1, 2, 3, and 4? I'll
Why?
just be shaking. I listen to your podcast, which I like.
Yeah.
It's just I skip over the wrestling stuff, but
So,
you know
most of
that's
it?
not. I'm not the target demographic, so there we go. Look, I appreciate
no,
that you
no.
actually put timestamps because it tells you, all right, this is what I'm going to be talking about here, and if you don't want to hear it, go to that timestamp, and I go, whoop, there we go.
There
And
you go.
I love it. It's great. Thank you.
Welcome. So yeah, there you go. So that's all the A&W stuff for now. Let's talk about some Sasuke.
Yay!
So the applications for Sasuke 32 are finally up, and it has been confirmed that the Sasuke 32 will be airing sometime this summer.
Given by where the auditions are roughly around the same time. Given that they're doing this, it sounds fairly quickly.
Right.
It's gonna be the same. There's gonna be before the Olympics, so I would assume airing would be sometime in July, just like last year.
Ah.
So, you know, because again, Olympics is screwing everything up. Because the original plan was to get World Cup up, and from what it sounds like, it's probably not happening before the Olympics. So it's sort of like, okay, fine, skirt, put Sasuke on, which was, as far as I'm concerned, I'm perfectly fine with that.
By the way,
which is why I'm going, oh God, please, I want to go.
would you happen to know who the official broadcaster for the Olympics is in Japan?
I don't know, but I do know that TBS ran quite a few things. In fact, I remember Nakata doing the trampoline stuff. And that was on TBS. I don't know if they're the official one or if they split it, because it's all government television over there.
Right.
So it could be where they split it between stations. I'm not entirely sure. That I don't have the full, but I remember Nakata the last time was doing the play-by-play for the trampoline event, and that was on TBS.
Yeah. Summer Olympics are going to be kind of interesting in 4 years.
Yes, because it's going to be in Japan.
It's going to be in Tokyo.
I know. Yeah, I know. TBS is already working on a bunch of stuff when it comes with that. Just that all you have to do is follow Inui's Twitter, and he's already done the koi. Look forward to it in 2020, and then the wink to the little camera on the Nico Nico broadcast. So he's also, because remember, he's independent, so whether TBS carries it or not, he has many jobs in totally different companies. He does all television stations. So regardless, he's not going to be available for the month of August. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen before or after. Just Olympics, basically, in television in general, it shuts down.
Right.
And even other stations, CBS, ABC, Fox, they throw their reruns during that time, because they are not going to try to fight those ratings.
Why bother? It's like putting a new episode against the Super Bowl. Like, why bother?
The bigger thing with it is because it is going to be in our time zone.
Yes.
It's going to be in the Eastern time zone. It's going to be in Rio. Everything's going to be live.
That is true.
So it's not like the last time when we were in Russia, where they were like in a 20-hour delay, because when you saw anything, it was like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching these things, but now it's going to be legit, where it's going to be same time zone. So you're going to be going, what am I going to be watching? What am I going to be watching? So I'm looking for, I'm an Olympics junkie, if y'all haven't figured out yet. It's just, I'm in my element during the Olympics. I just love it. So
I remember last Summer Olympics, I had gained a newfound respect for the archery event. That was really fun to watch that one.
Yeah, love archery. I love the water sports, like any water sports, and as strange as it sounds, I don't like track and field as much. If I see, the thing is, I love decathlon, because decathlon at least has
that's everything,
all different things, as opposed to
specialization.
You're watching somebody run. I'm like, I can run, and it's over in 14 seconds anyway. Well, wait a minute, it's under 10 seconds now. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The longer events, I'll watch a marathon. I'll watch cycling. I love gymnastics, and I love every swimming event, even if it's the sprints. I watch all the swimming. I have no idea why. It's probably because all these things I can't do. because I can't swim. So, but yeah, I love the Olympics.
The Olympics are fun.
Which is why I've always loved Sasuke, because I'm very sports oriented, and that was a mix between variety show and Olympics.
Right.
And it was just normal people. So, and I don't mind when, I've been asked that question. It's like, I don't mind when there's actually Olympians in there, like back when M9 used to do that, where all of a sudden you had, the Ham brothers. Like they had just, they'd just come to the Olympics where they've gotten all their medals, and they're like, oh, dude, they're there.
Also, Jordan Jochev competing on Sasuke.
Yes.
Is he, by the way, is he still doing gymnastics? Because last time I checked, he was still doing gymnastics.
He has finally retired. The last Olympics was his 5th Olympics,
right?
And that was his final Olympics.
All right,
and that was on purpose, and he still medaled. I was just so happy for him.
Good for him. Good for him.
So he's now a U.S. citizen.
Hey!
Yeah,
congratulations to him.
So. He still trains the Bulgarian team though,
right.
So I'm sure he goes back and forth.
Oh man, if you were a kid back when I was a kid, you would have loved watching shows on Nickelodeon like Guts and Double Dare, especially Guts, because Guts was the sports based one. Where
I have nephews that are your age, and I've seen them
because
they're sports oriented too, and they're like, "Oh, I saw all those."
Yeah,
Double Dare specifically because all the goop.
yes.
But yeah, no, Nickelodeon had some really freaking awesome shows.
Yeah,
and again, all the things that I wished when I was a kid, because the only thing that I had were Battle of the Network Stars and the occasional sumo events, and that's pretty much it. And then of course the Olympics, and we had to wait every 4 years for those.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did. Wow.
Yeah, those shows.
I remember those shows.
Those shows.
We can talk for hours about those.
I could talk.
I
don't
have the breadth of knowledge on those shows, because I would have them on, to keep them quiet.
Right. Yeah. No,
and
I
so
gotcha.
they'll sit and watch, and then I'll kind of come in and out, and then so they was like, "Dee, come over and watch it."
Yeah.
And so I would watch parts of it, and then they just wanted to see everybody get slimed.
No.
So, but
God.
was it Hidden Temple?
Legends of the Hidden Temple. That show.
I thought that was so cool, because that was like Indiana Jones.
That show is fantastic. I love that show. Oh my God. The Temple Run.
Yeah, that's
no. Okay, so really quickly, one of the reasons why those shows are great is there's lots of things but I think what really nails it down is the music, and this is exemplified in both Double Dare and Legends of the Hidden Temple, because that the winning team has to run in Double Dare, it's the obstacle course, and in Legends of the Hidden Temple, it's the Temple Run. The music for both of those bonus rounds is so perfect, because it starts out pretty exciting, but as the timer gets closer to 0, the music gets more and more intense, and you build up anticipation, and you're just going, go, you could do this, I believe in you, you could beat this.
It's like when you're playing a video game that you have the main theme, and all of a sudden they start either speeding it up or adding more instruments.
Exactly.
We're like, oh, the timer, oh crap,
exactly.
the timer. Yeah.
Like that music is what pulls everything together. It's what makes everything work so well. And that's what
I think I remember.
And that's part of the reason why I love those shows so much.
What's interesting is that Sasuke does the same thing, where the comparison between Ninja Warrior and Sasuke was vast, not just because how much they cut, but they stripped all the music.
Well, they didn't want to pay the license for that stuff.
Well, I know, but that's the point. In other words, it's difficult to recreate that mood.
Right.
So when you had each stage had its own thing, each person had a theme song. So even if I wasn't paying attention to, and obviously we don't understand Japanese, it's even if I wasn't paying attention who was coming up and whatever, all of a sudden, first few notes, Nagano's up. Oh, Nagano's up. And that's exactly how I would go. Oh crap, it's his turn. Yeah. So, hey, they've since changed a few things by trying to buy their own copyrighted music or whatever, but they still have those.
Oh, Shingo's up. Or actually, that's not Shingo. That was Morimoto. Sorry. Oh, Morimoto's up. Anyway.
I tried doing that before. Like, I mean, I know in SMF we do a bunch of things, but even mentioning to people that they had theme songs, I get like the glazed eyes. I'm like, oh, you need to see the original.
Yeah.
And it's different because you have like this, and what's funny is that even silence is considered something.
Right.
Where there's like no music, there's nothing. It's like you're hearing crickets and them like hyperventilating because they're still waiting to just. It's like that is just as intense as a piece of music. As we've spoken before on this podcast about how the Koreans do things sometimes, or the Chinese do things, where like you use like the happy music and the sad music and then speed it up for a little bit. And why was that there?
Or
like there's
sometimes you hear a orchestra version of Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal, and you're just like, wait, what? That is.
To be fair, Japan does that as well.
I know.
Have you ever seen their variety shows?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Yeah.
Wait, the Saints are marching in?
Yeah.
Like. It doesn't even fit what's going on. They're eating sushi.
Yeah. No, it's just sometimes I'm watching Dream Team, and when they're doing the introduction for the course, they're playing Smooth Criminal. I'm just like, wait, what? I'm confused. What's going on? Why did they?
To be fair, I like that song.
No. I love that song too.
I think they got that song and they're like, all right, we're just gonna milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. It's quite bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Oh, what was it? There was one episode. This is probably the most bizarre thing I saw editing wise with Dream Team. There was an episode where they were making a Superman joke about a guy. Like, I don't know, he was comparing something with his Superman. And so they had an image of Superman on the screen. It's like, oh, hey, look, this guy I don't know, looks like Superman or whatever. But the music they were playing was the Indiana Jones theme song. And I'm like, okay, I know you've used the Superman song before. You couldn't use that one?
Like, yeah, whoever got into the editing bay didn't know any of them.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds cool. There we go. Super music.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So anyway, getting back to Sasuke.
Although that was legit because we were talking about the music with that.
That is true. That is true.
So yeah, okay. So applications are up. It's airing this summer. We don't know exactly when it is. That won't be announced until like months later.
Right.
But the idea that the application is out is really cool. I'm so excited.
Progress.
So, yes, progress because it's we can talk about that for hours.
Exactly.
The last Nico Nico on this.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Was basically more of the same, where it's a lot of banter. They had less people, but they were still, a lot of, this old stories and, were you nervous? And, what was the first time you, how was it the first time you were there? What do you eat during that time? I mean, this is like crazy things. And then, of course, they go to the questions, and the questions inevitably turn into an obstacle conversation. So just like it always devolves to an obstacle. It's like SMF all over again, just in Japanese.
Because it's the easiest topic to come up with. It's the easiest thing to come up with discussions and questions about. Because it's the most visual thing. It's what you're looking at. It's the entire
It's
point.
A cross between two things. Either, hey, can I be on your show? And B, can I have my obstacle on there so I can get credit for it? Because that's basically what they're asking for. So, because we've asked before, are they going to do the obstacle competition? Because even last year when they did the obstacle competition, they didn't pick an obstacle. They sort of like did a mishmash between the two. Right. And what they ended up doing is that they had invited the I think it was two people. Yeah, winners. Technically, it's sort of like, okay, we use part of yours and part of yours. All right, fine. Because at that point they had an audience that they could throw them in, so it turned out to be a lot easier. So they're like, okay, yay, you won the contest, but not quite. It was a little weird. Yeah. But I don't know if they're doing that this year. There is another Nico Nico coming up in a week and a half. I believe it's the 10th. Don't quote me on that. Check on my blog. I'm not staring at my computer right now.
Right.
And so I would suspect now that we have an application, you'll have the notice me senpai moments.
Yeah.
Like, please! Because the process is different in Japan. Here in the United States, you send in your application, and then you pray to the casting gods that that they accept you, and then call you, and then you don't have to worry about growing an ulcer, because the second half is to show up in person and pray that you're one of like the first 15 to 20 people, if at that, to run the course as a walk-on. Walk-ons do not exist in Japan. So
Nope.
The process is you send your application, and then they send you a yes. And the yes would be for auditions. If you didn't receive anything, good luck next year. Because then you have to go through the whole application process, and then you go and in front of somebody. You have to do a 30-second appeal. No. They do a 30-second appeal. Basically, you have 30 seconds to sell your story. And,
Right.
That's how people do the little shtick sometimes, bending a fry pan, or, sing a little song or whatever.
Or
and all
sitting,
of it, your names. Exactly.
Or
Just
sitting
all-
on a green medicine ball on top of your house. I remember that was, it was one of the earlier ones. But I remember, because with a lot of the older ones, I've only seen the the G4 versions, and that's one of the profiles that they put on that show, where it's like the entire reason he got onto the show is because of his bizarre application, which is just a video of him sitting on a medicine ball on top of his house.
Well, you know why Nagano and Bunpei were chosen, right?
Why?
Because they were from the sticks, and nobody lives out there. Nagano came from Miyazaki. Nope, they had nobody from the Miyazaki area. They're like, well, he looks. Oh wait, he sent a video of him, basically bench pressing a ship. Yeah, let's get the country bumpkin over here. And then same thing with Bunpei, because Bunpei is out from like way up in the mountains. There are like 5 people that live there.
The man who single-handedly made his town more famous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where Inba Village is.
Right.
And it's for that reason. I think it's something like 100 people live there. I don't know. It's just some tiny town up in the sticks. Yeah. And that's the only reason why they get invited. The only reason, because it was wow, we don't have any country bumpkins. Any country bumpkins? All right, we'll grab that one. And that's how that happened. So A&W does the same thing too. Granted, I hope they stop in the sob stories, because we've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
But the process is different. So you go through the go through that. Then you have to do 100 push-ups, and it's not specifically that you do the 100 push-ups. It is what they're looking for there is, do you have at least the desire to try to hang in there? So even if it takes you 10 of them over the 3 minutes, do you give up in those 3 minutes is what they're looking for. And most people fail that part because they're not showing any determination, or even worse, no desire to be on the show, where they show up and going, yeah, I want to be here. Well, why? Are you not passionate for being here? So that's the whole point of seeing them in person.
I want the money.
What, $12,000 is all you get in sauce?
What? Actually, do you know what the exact yen amount is?
I thought okay, they might have moved it. It's anywhere it used to be 1 million.
Right.
Then we moved it to 2, and I think they may be up to 4. They have not put that on in public in the last 4 years.
All right, so
during the Rising era. So let's just
Yeah.
assume that it's 3 million. There's just 3 to 4 million.
All right, well,
that is still.
I just looked up. 4 million yen is $35,146.76.
Mm-hmm. The way I look at yen, at least, regardless of what the devaluing, because right now the yen is really hurting.
Right.
You move the decimal point over twice.
Exactly. Yeah,
so it was like a roughly
roughly.
Before
Although
it used to be like
I'm looking at
12 grand.
the I'm looking at the chart. It's actually dipped quite a bit in the past 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Last year when I was in Japan, I had like a magic trick going. I gave them money and they gave me more money back.
It's amazing.
So like I gave them $100 and they gave me like $150 worth in yen. I'm like, I'm not changing this. In fact, I still have $50 in my pocket. And they're like, don't change it. You'll lose all of it.
Oh man. That's like the opposite of when I went to Europe with the family a few years ago.
Oh god, yes.
both the euro and especially the pound are
stronger.
are stronger than the dollar, and it's just like it's one of those things where I remember where I look at price tags and I have to remind myself that's in pounds, William. It's more expensive. It's more expensive than you realize.
Whenever I watch like the Antiques Roadshow or like that type of thing, because I love like bargain hunters and the flea market things or whatever, it's the same thing. And it was cool because when they bothered to when it was imported back here, they bothered to put the conversion. So I got used to going, okay, it's 1.2 pounds, 1.2 million pounds. I'm like, oh, that's like 2.5 million. It's like, yes, it's a lot more. And so I got you. So now you know what it was like for the Japanese, where they're like, please come here and spend money. We need everything you can get.
Please.
Because right now the dollar is preferred currency. So they will give you a lot more yen because they want that dollar in the worst way.
Please help us. Our economy has been stagnant for years and our population rate continues to go down. We need something.
That's really sad. Yeah,
it's
really sad. They're in dire straits.
Do you know what's also really sad? The population of Japan decreased more last year than when we dropped the bomb on them.
Yeah, it's really sad. We can have full podcasts as to why those things are happening.
That is a whole discussion about culture and economics.
Yeah.
I'm
always interested in that as a general thing. We've had discussions. I'm very much a people watcher, and I'm fascinated by the Japanese culture because it is the polar opposite of my life.
Right.
I'm always and over the years over with Sasuke, I have a lot of Japanese friends.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy about that. But there are certain things that happen there. It was like, wow, so I have a very strong affinity for them, so I feel bad when I see those type of statistics. And unlike when we have statistics here in the United States, we're like, well, in 20, 30 years, it was like, no, it's this year. It's this year. They're in a negative rate. In 10 years, Japan's going to be unrecognizable. And that's scary.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, more Sasuke news.
Sasuke Vietnam Season 2.
Yeah. So what happened, I believe it was November's when we announced it. Yes, because it was the same announcement that we had with Sasuke Ninja Warrior Indonesia.
Right.
Sasuke Indonesia Ninja Warrior. One of those two.
No.
But
you got it right the first time.
Sasuke Indonesia Ninja Warrior.
No. That was the second one. No, it's Sasuke Ninja Warrior Indonesia.
There we go.
Yeah. Come on.
Throw them all there. But it was around
rolls
the
off
same
the
time.
tongue.
In fact, Vietnam was supposed to be right afterwards.
Right.
And it turned out that, they had it up to the date. They were getting there. And then all of a sudden, whoop, I'm not going. Wait, what do you mean you're not going? They're postponed it. I think it's in March. So from what it looks like, it may be in April. They had some internal problems. They had, I believe, either they fired or lost their producer. Again, this is all public stuff. So they're basically reorganizing everything. The more important thing about that is that they have expressed interest the year before, but they actually now allow foreigners to enter. There are still some questions because people have been trying to communicate with them. Unlike how it was with Malaysia, where the Malaysian organizing committee were fluent in English, the Vietnamese are not. So I'm not sure if it's a language barrier or whatever, but up to this point, anyone under the over the age of 18, male and female, are regardless of country, are encouraged to apply. So the applications are still up. I'm trying to remember when the date was supposed to be for the end of that. I'm not sure. But if the dates are correct, they're going to be taping as early as April 8th. So it should have been probably in the middle of this month at most. There's still some confusion on that, but the fact that they announced that it is going to be an international event, TBS has already mentioned that they plan to send a Japanese team. I'm not sure how that's going to be set up, whether or not they're going to allow just, the Japanese to enter on their own, or if there's going to be an actual international event, sort of like a USA versus World type thing. Whether, I don't know, or if they're going to do like a China thing where there's multiple teams. I have no idea. So, but if you're interested, all of the information's on my site. I have the links to their the application itself, which has the old November dates. It's just a little weird, but their Facebook has the updated information. So, if you're interested in that, it's on my website, and feel free to look at it there. But yeah, it's interesting. So I would assume that 32 is going to be sometime after that, because TBS can't be in two places at once.
Or can they?
Although if it turns out to be, that would explain timing wise, because the auditions in Tokyo and Osaka are after the dates for this at the end of April. So I do these things. I always try to connect the dots going, okay, you can't physically be in two places at once. Now, granted, last year, Inui was finished doing Vietnam, got on an airplane, landed in Tokyo, and immediately started doing Sasuke. That's how tight it was, because it was end of April, and then we were in the middle of May, and it takes about the shortest I've ever seen them is 10 days, but to give some leeway for testing and whatever, it's about 2 weeks. So about 2 weeks to build Midoriyama, because that's one thing that people forget. This is not like an amusement park where all of it is up at all times. People ask me whether or not it is on like Google Maps, and I said no. The only thing you will see on Google Maps is a flat surface. It's a lot. And so they build it in about 2 weeks. They do 2 days of filming, and then it comes all right back down, because it is a lot that is rented out to all other television stations. Or if you have money and you need to rent a lot, they'll sell it to you. You know what I mean? They'll rent it to you for a while. So that's how that works. So that's why I was checking the timing on when is Vietnam, and then by that point you can start doing like edition, and then it takes 6 weeks to edit, and then so that's when you start doing the math in your head in terms of timing. And so that's why I knew that it had to be before the Olympics if they had any chance of doing it. If not, it was going to be after September. So again, that's how my brain works.
And there you go.
Yeah, into the mind of the crazy person, and it's not the person you think it is. I had to steal that from you.
You will be hearing from my lawyer within the week.
Oh, it's not fine. Okay, we're gonna have to explain that joke because nobody knows what it is.
No.
Yeah.
No. You explain it. You explain it, and then I'll correct you if you say anything wrong.
The only way that I know is that Mind of a Crazy Person was your old username, in SMF, and you actually had a website that went with it, and that's all I remember. Because yeah. For the longest time, I knew you as Mind of a Crazy Person. That was after the one that you had in G4 forums.
Yeah. Okay. So I used to have a YouTube channel called Mind of Crazy Person. That was my original YouTube channel that I made back when I was in high school, and I was too young to have my own YouTube account, so I lied about my age. at the time. It's funny how
I
you
had an age restriction.
yeah. I don't remember what it was. I think I was like a year younger. It might have changed, but I think at the time, back in the early days, you had it. And so that was my username for various times, including at one point my Twitter was MofCP222, which is a shortened version of it. And it's it's generally what I used on SMF and other sites as well. And now I no longer use it because I got tired of using it. So then I switched to 2D2 Will, which is really just means 2-2 William. It just then that's it. So yeah. So Mind a Crazy Person, that's just me. It was a reflection of how I felt people saw me back in the day. Well, it's it's a long story, but I was kind of a bit of the crazy one back in the high school days. So that's
They still think I am.
I think you're rather tame, but comparatively. Anyway.
Nah, I think over age I've mellowed quite a bit, so I can understand that entirely.
Yeah.
I had that affinity going as like anybody that comes up with that username is my friend. That's the way I thought of it.
I mean, unless you went to high school with me, you're not going to get this. But I was the guy who used to do cartwheels and scream louder than any of the girls. As part of the halftime show of my high school's football games, because I was one of the drum majors. And it's funny because it's a long story, but basically because of one of the songs that we did for band my senior year, it was revealed that I'm really good at screaming, and I was the drum major that year, and for the halftime show during homecoming, originally the plan was I was just going to run out and scream scramble, and everyone would kind of like run around and get into new positions for the next song. But the day of, because a few days prior it was revealed to the world that I can cartwheel due to my gymnastics background back when I was a young child, my band teacher basically came up to me. He's like, hey, we got an idea. How about instead of you running to position to scream, you do a cartwheel into position and scream, or a series of cartwheels, that is. Now, my family didn't know about this and they told me they were very surprised when I did that during the show.
My family was never surprised by any of the stuff that comes up with.
Yeah.
Even when I mentioned the whole thing on like what I do, so like when I had to explain the Japan trip last year, because at that particular moment in time, no one had known that I had done like blogs and stuff like that. Yeah. Because I'd never talked about it, because again, when you're doing something so niche, and then when you're writing about it, I had like this weird like self-consciousness, and so I can understand somebody that loves loves Sasuke or Ninja Warrior or anything like that, where like, oh, and they find a blog and whatever. When you explain that to somebody that has never had any exposure to the show, you start going, oh, how do I even approach this? And then here I am, I had a ticket going to Japan, and they're like, back up a little bit. And then I explained the story in just a couple sentences, because I managed to narrow it down to sort of like almost like a pitch piece. And they go, oh, well, yeah. And that's not exactly how they do it, because they're like, well, this is Elsie. Elsie would come up with this. So, you'll find us funny, and we can probably, you'll decide whether or not you want to transition or wait until later. I finally met, Travis Rosen in person, and the first question that he asked, I have a very strange question to ask you. And I said, what? is your name Elsie or Arsenette? Like, Elsie's my nickname and Arsenette's my real name, but I go by both. In fact, when I was born, I was called Elsie literally as an infant. Just that early. And he goes, when I first heard of you, you were in the G4 forums, and I had was it Hiragana? I think it was Hiragana. Correct me if I'm wrong, because as far as I can see, they look identical to me, Hiragana or Katakana. They look like squiggly lines to me. I'm so sorry. They look identical to me, and I have not studied enough to know the difference. But it was written in Japanese, Elsie, which is Erushi. And so he can read it because he knows Japanese. Right. Which at that point I was like, oh, that's right, Travis Rosen does know Japanese. And so it goes, for the longest time. So I'm like, okay, so Arsenette's her username, but Elsie's her real name. Or is that her? No, everybody knows her as Arsenette. So that was like the first. It's like, oh, I've been meaning to ask you this for about 8 years. It's like, what is your real name? He goes, oh, yeah, because you don't use that anymore. It's like, I still have the little avatar icon. I can probably switch it. But he says, no, it's this question. I just thought that was so funny because, going back to...
When I was with you and your husband over the weekend, like, he would refer to you as Elsie, and I had to constantly... Because I've never called you that, ever. I had to constantly remind myself, oh, that's right. He's referring to the same person that I refer to when I say Arsenette.
Yeah. Yep. But it was weird because that's why I was asking if you wanted to do the transition to the weekend, because it was.
Let's hold up.
Okay, so I'll explain more of that story in a couple minutes.
But speaking of Travis Rosen,
yes.
You know what? You know what other show he was on?
Ageless Wonder. Oh my god.
Team Ninja Warrior.
I'm still enjoying it. I'm a little behind, so as of this particular recording, I've seen, was it 4 and 5? Okay. And then 6 was last night, because we're recording this on a Wednesday.
7 was last
7?
night.
Okay, yeah. I'm losing track, but
yeah,
I enjoy this show. There's some episodes I like more than another.
Oh, yeah.
But it just, I like this show. I like how... I love the passion that each competitor brings to it, because this is what's missing from A&W now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the ones that make it exciting for me are also the ones that have been there from the beginning. The G4 people, the ones that came back from, like freaking 2007, 2008. Those are the ones that, to me, bring back that passion. The ones that remember the old Ninja Warrior. And it was refreshing, because especially when I saw Travis Rosen, because everybody's like, dude, he's 41 years old. And I'm like, dude, he's 41 years old and kicking some serious butt. Yeah. And so I was totally fangirling with those episodes, and it's been extremely close competition.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to worry about timers because it's exciting. Yeah. I mean, I still have issues with the format, and first rounds don't mean jack. But
one way you can look at it is that the first round is a seeding process.
Yeah. Look, it's still not a perfect science.
I know.
I am hoping.
But like we said, it's they have to work with the time slot they have.
Now, what I am hoping for is that, up to this point, this has been the highest rated show on the Esquire network.
Right.
Similar to how A&W was, similar to how A&W was during the G4 days.
Right.
Because Ninja Warrior outstripped everything. And then when A&W came around, and then you had more of, the local variety going, I want to see myself on TV, then it went higher, and A&W, the first season of A&W, was the highest that they had ever gotten. Granted, it's only a blip on the regular TV dial, but it was a big deal. So Esquire's going through the exact same thing. They've existed for almost as long as G4 at this point, because G4 has not lasted as long, in the format that we know it. And their highest is American Ninja Warrior. Now, Team Ninja Warrior came on, and it beat those numbers, because even American Ninja Warrior, it's still a repeat of what was in NBC. So all of a sudden, Team Ninja Warrior is a whole new thing, and people like it. So what I'm hoping is that the following time, the next time they do it, because they'll be crazy if they don't do it again, especially since,
absolutely.
they've got not just the ratings and whatever, but the competitors really enjoyed it. So at worst, they'll just have the same people that they had last time. But maybe taking the criticisms from this season, tweaking the format a little bit to, get rid of some of the problems that there are people that are having with the format. And, we don't need to beat that dead horse. We understand the format screwed. Right. But the runs themselves are really exciting. Yeah. And how the obstacles are laid out and how they go up against each other, people like that. So hopefully they'll have a higher budget next year. And if they can run it several episodes, then great. Their ratings are holding steady. And it's still low. You can't compare them to network. It's not even close. They're running between 250 and 280 people, 180,000 people watching, and the most that they've ever gotten was a 0.1, which ironically is around the same that A&W got on G4 in its prime. Yeah. So they're virtually identical. The only difference was at the prime with G4, they had 400 and something thousand people watching. So double the amount were watching at that point than it is now. But it's not in every household. They have the same amount of pull, but just not in the correct regions.
Right.
So
I imagine that come A&W, I imagine they're going to mention it on the show, especially the women who made it up to the warp wall on Team Ninja Warrior.
We're up to 8.
Maybe it's either 7 or 8. I don't remember the exact number, but
which is freaking awesome.
yeah. There were 3 of the 4 women in episode 6 made it up the warped wall, which is
and 2 of them at the same time.
Yeah, that was
epic.
That was really good.
Oh my god, that was epic. Do you remember their names? Remember, I'm going by memory. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm putting you on the spot. But that was epic. Now, what I find amusing is that I've been lazy, and the correction is not lazy. I've been doing all kinds of other stuff. But the
hold on. Okay, I can give you some names. Okay, so let's see here. Jennifer Tavernier from Team Party Time made up the warp wall for the first time on Team Ninja Warrior. Tiana Weberly from Team Ronin made up the warp wall for the first time. Erica Cook from the Real Life Beasts made up the warp wall for the first time. And I believe Jerry D. Arurio from Team Invincibles made up the warp wall.
Okay.
I believe Jerry and Erica were the 2 who did it at the same time.
Okay, that makes sense. And then of course, Casey did it as well.
Actually, I could be wrong.
And somebody else, and Megan did it as well.
And Michelle Warnke's done it.
And Michelle Warnke. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was just like it. And this format is perfect for them.
Yes.
Because it is guaranteed one woman on there, and then you finally get the opportunity to just see them there.
What I found interesting is that some of the women haven't actually competed on A&W as contestants. I have a feeling they'll be able to get on the show now.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you imagine how crappy that would be if
nothing surprises me.
But it's I don't know, but I mean, it's the same production company, and I imagine NBC would love to just like feature more women who are successful because
but at the same time, you get stuff from On High and NBC, and that changes everything because they may be hired to do something, but they're hired to do something. Heck, even Inui goes through that as well, where he has an idea of what he wants, but he still has, corporate policy, and that's how we got the first stage from 31.
Let me put it this way. If NBC prevent any of those women from competing on A&W who pass the warped wall, they are idiots. Like, just point blank, they are idiots. Because
ladies and gentlemen, they have eliminated Lucy Romberg's history. Nothing will surprise me anymore.
That's them being jerks, to put it lightly.
I know that, but
I'm just saying.
I am extremely hopeful. I pray that they do not screw them over.
Look,
and they are old enough, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just making sure.
They want another Casey Catanzaro situation, and they would be idiots to not invite the women who are most likely to give them that situation.
Heck, we've had women in anchor legs in this one, and they have done fantastic. So it's just like,
exactly,
it's like, give them a shot.
Exactly.
So I'm really hoping. Again, I don't hold my breath. I am not as what's the phrase I'm looking for?
Apprehensive?
No, I'm not as positive that something like that would happen.
Oh, yeah.
Hopeful. I'm not as hopeful because, again, nothing surprises me anymore from NBC. Because they've done no promotion whatsoever for this. None.
Yeah. And they did even less promotion for USA versus the World somehow.
Yeah, I think they figured out what was on the schedule and they just said, screw it, we're not going to waste money on it. That's my own opinion on it. So
they saw, wait, Grease Live? Ugh, forget it.
Dude, 14 million people saw that.
I was not one of them.
That was it was a 4.0
Yeah, well,
on rating that destroyed A&W by a long shot.
I don't care.
And I forget which sporting event was on. Another sporting event was on as well, and that also beat it. So A&W was technically third or fourth that night.
Right.
So, but it was just still. But anyway, I'm enjoying the show. You will be talking in extreme detail on your podcast. So if anybody's interested in like going through the whole thing, feel free to I'm plugging yours.
Hey, the Final William podcast. Go listen to it because
you go into an extreme detail with it, and then you're also using the experience of watching the original Ninja Warrior. So certain that such and such person had gone through this season and whatever, and then this how I don't have that experience. So
So I have a few notes about Team Ninja Warrior I just want to mention. Then we can move on.
Thank you.
I was partially right when I said that there would be some kind of losers revival. It wasn't the way that I imagined. What they actually did was the producers decided among the 6 teams that failed the relay race of their episode, 2 of them got wildcard spots to fill out the top 8 of the finals.
I thought there were 4.
No.
There were 2. Okay.
2 wildcards.
Yeah, that's where I was. What I was saying earlier.
6 winners and 2 wildcards.
Oh, okay, that's where that went. Because earlier when I was saying that I was behind on some of them, and then I went off into the beaten path. And,
so what they're doing is that the last 2 episodes, 4 of the final 8 compete in one episode, and then 4 of the other final 8 compete in the other episode. Okay. And then at the end of the second episode, there's one final relay race to determine the championship. And so the 2 halves, they function as normal episodes, just teams that have done well. So it's still the same thing where like the first round technically doesn't matter, and all of that. But at the very end of next week's episode, they're going to have an additional relay.
Okay.
There's a few things that I've noticed. I've noticed that starting with episode 6, teams started changing lanes every heat.
Yeah.
So that's them trying to compensate for the differences in length.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did notice that.
Also, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Also, oh yeah, the 2 wild cards were given to Storm Team Morosky and the Stratisfaction.
I have to say something about the Stratisfaction one.
What's that?
Because I've followed them on Twitter, and
Right.
whenever it's Team Ninja Warrior night, I know it, even if I forget, because they just vomit tweets, which is fine because they do videos and stuff. So even if I kind of missed the episode, I see it anyway.
Yeah.
But they had the most awesome graphic when they announced the Stratisfaction wild card slot. They had, the what I call the Nagano and Takeda ritual caning.
Right. Yeah.
And they had this beautiful graphic where Bernardo was hitting Strat's back, and like this explosion came out of his back, and then you can see the Sasuke's soul. Like basically the temporary tattoos on their arm. That was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. I'm sitting there going, this just screams Sasuke.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh, Grace is in there because I didn't see Grace. And they just sort of like very shallowly put her on there as if she was hitting his back too. But it was that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So as an old G4 person watching that, is like I was like. I almost had that as my wallpaper on my computer for a while.
Also, there's been discussion in the past about kind of how one person can carry their team to victory. The relay, I've come to the realization that the relay race truly does prevent one person from carrying their team.
Yeah.
And I think that was. Have you seen episode 5?
Remind me, please, which one it is, because I forgot which numbers are each.
Okay, so episode 5 is the one with the Lab Rats, the Ninja Britons, Electrics, and Iron Grip competing.
I saw pieces of it.
Okay.
So specifically, what match you were looking at? The relay for that one?
I'm talking about the relay, yeah.
Okay, I did not see the relay.
Okay, so for your sake, I won't say who, but one of the teams. It's clear that one person was like the strongest member of his team and really helped his team get to the relay, but he can only do a third of the course.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the reason why they ultimately lost that race. And so, if you're worried about, so for anyone watching, if you're worried about the idea that someone can carry their team, just keep in mind that one person can't win it for their team. It's the same
in when you're doing relays for anything.
Yes.
Olympics is a perfect example of it. It's like, sure, they have a great anchor leg, but if they have to go 3/4 of the field to just catch up with the last person, there's unless they can stop time, there's not much they can do. And also, that's why I had mentioned before that I really wish that there were more relays, because I find that exciting.
No, the relay is great. And also, I was worried that the 10-second penalty was not enough time. But I think
really,
at first I kind of thought, oh, that's not a lot of time. But after, I don't want to give anything else away, but there was a second time that it happened. Okay. After seeing the second time that it happened, I kind of realized, okay. Yeah, no, it's definitely more than enough when someone who is fast on the course has a hard time catching up.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that. And on a final note, I just want to say that in regards to my feelings of Team Ninja Warrior, it was announced a few years ago that A. Smith and Company was planning on doing another remake of American Gladiators. And at first I was kind of worried because my only familiarity with them was American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't know, I adore American Gladiators very much. But after watching Team Ninja Warrior, I can safely say that as long as it's not on NBC again, I have full confidence in them making a new American Gladiators. Okay. I don't know if that project's still in the works, but I trust them now. Just don't put on NBC.
Yeah. It always goes down to Oh God, NBC. It's like its own meme because NBC. It's just, why did this happen? Because NBC. It's just as that. Like, fair warning, I am not going to be watching NBC during the Olympics. Just fair warning, because it makes me rage.
Will you watch CNBC? Will you watch Bravo, or the USA Network, or any of the other USA NBC Universal affiliate channels?
It depends. It depends, because usually I go by who's announcing. But I know the majority of the problems that I have come from the main network because of how they edit it. So they'll go, all right, here are the one American that ended up in like 17th place, but we're gonna milk an hour on that, and all of a sudden, let's go to this. Dude, did you miss the other medalists? And all of a sudden you come back, it's the medal ceremony. Nope, I'm not gonna see the medal. There we go. So then I have to switch over. Hey, let's check Eurosport. Okay, they actually have it completely uncut. Right, I'm going to watch Eurosport. Or, heck, at one point I saw Russian TV, another one Italian TV. Anybody that's going to show me an uncut, yes, it's going to be jingoistic to whatever country it is. It really doesn't matter. I already know that. But if I can see most of the competition, it's like, I cheer for everybody. I just love competition. So,
speaking of competition.
Oh, yeah.
We went on a little field trip this past weekend.
I have to publicly thank you, because
thank you.
The last time, back in November, I went to, see, I think of it Mount Laurel because that's closer to where I am, so it's more in
Hainesport.
It's in Hainesport. And now you understand why I kept screwing up that introduction. But the movement lab in Hainesport, I went there last time at the end of the competition, which ended up being one of the qualifiers for the finals for this event that we went to. And so, because I wanted to see my friend Perry, because he, last time I saw him was in Japan, and he is legit from the Netherlands, so he only came here twice. And one of them was in November, so I went to see him and went out, ate sushi, got to talk to him, finally met Chris for the very first time in person. And then that's that. And then you had mentioned, hey, are you going? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't do too good in crowds, and this is going to be an A&W crowd. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it.
Then I was like, hey, I'm going, and I need a place to stay. And you were like, well, I might as well come too.
Well, yeah.
More or less.
It was 25 minutes away. So I always say half hour, because you never know how traffic's going to be. You just catch a couple lights and it's over.
Right.
So, but I'm like, let me see how it is. And I feel bad for hubby, because he had a rough week, and then he's like, oh, this is going to be a lot of standing around. So, so I'm like, okay, William's coming over. All right, I'll go. So I mentioned that to Chris, and God bless him. Chris Wilczewski gave me a press pass. So I
gave me a press pass too.
Yeah, I was like above and beyond, as opposed to he's like, oh, sure, you want to cover it? I'm like, great. So I'm like,
dude,
cool.
I was prepared to buy every spectator ticket until you told me that we didn't have to pay.
Yeah. I was, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. I know you're listening. You've been really, really kind to us. I had a ball. I am still recovering. In fact, I call them baby cows, my calves. My baby cows are still mooing. I am hurting. Every muscle in my body is hurting, because I'm very much a hermit. I do not leave home, and so I am in like the worst shape of my entire life, as most people have seen me. And so I was hurting. First day was a 14 hour day, and I was standing most of the time. You had it worse, because the position that you were in the center of the arena, and you were recording every single run, you kept going basically in a circle every single run as each person went by. I was really surprised at because when I first went there and I saw the gym, and I'm like, where are they going to fit all these obstacles? And I'm like, it's probably going to look like almost like a backyard course. Oh my God, was I I was so wrong. I'm like, dude, and I was shocked. And again, the level of the competition, because this was a finals, and they were coming from all sides of the country.
Right.
And they're like, oh, none of the California guys are going. Yeah, California guys were there too. It's like from every corner of the country. It was like a who's who. It was like an all-star special. And there was never a point where, because at one point I'm thinking, well, I'm going to duck out in the middle of the afternoon, go get some lunch and then probably pick up. No, there wasn't a run I missed. Period. There was not a run that I missed, because I was sitting there going like, well, it's about 12:15. Let me go get some lunch and then come back and then whatever. Just like leisurely come back. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna miss Travis Rosen. Oh crap, I have to be back for this time. Like, okay, so all right, we're leaving now. Get in the car. We're gonna eat some food and coming back. And we just got back like right at the time it was gonna start. And we're like trying to get into. Oh, it was a lot of fun, and I was terrified to go, because anybody that has ever followed me knows of my utter disdain for NBC, and by extension A&W. But what I'm happy is that the people that know that also know that I have never held anything against the competitors, and that was so important for me to. I better not start crying. When I went in there, I had people walk up to me, even people that I didn't know knew me. And so, they introduced themselves, and I go, and hi, and they're like, yeah, I know who you are. And I'm like, you do? And there were competitors, like A&W competitors. And to be fair, I have never seen her runs. Ever. like Louis Mosso. I know of him by his story. I have never seen his run. And he knew exactly who I was extremely. I said, dude gave me hugs. And I was like, I was in shock. I was like, everybody was so nice to me. It was so weird. It was funny because Jeff's sitting there going, you do realize that's how A&W is. And I'm like, not quite. Because I still see all the other people around, and I'm going to drop kick all of them because they stole my Sasuke is no longer in American television. I was not, but it was funny because I was talking to Strat and Bernardo, which finally I got to meet them. And it was such an interesting conversation because it's a weird thing with those two because I've known them the longest.
Right.
Like, especially Strat, that we've known of each other for over 8 years now. And, well, actually Strat 9. And so we've never met, and we've spoken many times, either through PMs, emails, or on boards and whatever, but that's the first time we've seen each other. And it was like we've known each other like forever, and we're sitting there goofing around and whatever, and it was so weird. And Jeff was saying, it's like, these are the same people, these are the people that run A&W. And I know he's one of the newer guys by comparison, so he might not know all of my history. So the idea of that I never held the competitors at bay for the corporate businesses, business practices of NBC. It's just, but it was so weird because I wasn't sure if any of those that had that mentality were like going to retaliate, and for the record, no, I didn't meet Joe Morosky. We didn't talk. That was the first question. In fact, we were always at opposite sides of the arena. It just happened to be that way. And I wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to walk up to him or anything like that, because the difference, of course, as well, is that he did so freaking well. That's in competition mode. And I've been around a lot of athletes my entire life. And previous life, I've actually run sports events, sports competitions. I've been around a lot of athletes in a professional level. And you don't walk up to a competitor in the middle of competition. Some competitors are different. Where my favorite, the example of Tomo Kawaguchi, which I found out is basically Jeff Britton. And Jeff's like, please forgive me. And this was the same thing that was told to me in Japanese by Tomo Kawaguchi. Please do not think that I am standoffish or like stuck up or anything. I am doing everything that I can to not throw up. Like right before competition. After competition, dude, we'll go out to dinner if need be. It's just I get really nervous before competitions, and so I tried keeping as much as I could like away from the competitors that were in competition mode. And you can tell, all you have to do is just look at their demeanor. Sometimes they're running the course in their head, or they're really intently paying attention to other high caliber athletes, because everybody qualified to be there. So there were no, like, hey, no, everybody qualified to be there. So at some point or another, they made top 5 somewhere.
Right.
So they're standing and they're looking at techniques. They're looking at how, each person is like, oh, I know the level of that person. Oh my God, they failed the third obstacle. You know what I mean? Like they're really paying attention. So at the end of it, at the second day was where basically, like the first day between takes where you got a good portion of your interviews were either the competitors that had already been eliminated or they were there to watch. Mm-hmm. And they were not competitors themselves. So those were easy to talk to. Like Strat is, coming from, having his entire shoulder blown out. So he's still recovering from surgery. He was there for Bernardo.
Right.
And Grace and Brett Sims, because they were all shoved in a little car and they all drove up, and was 13-14 hours to be there. But, he was there as a cheering squad and all the other ones were competing. So it was really interesting. And then so by the end of the event, we're all of a sudden, okay, competition's over, let the chips lie wherever. And that point, it just became fun. And that was the coolest thing for me, because Chris had opened up the arena to competitors, the ones that had the white wristbands. Right. And those were the only ones that were allowed to do that. And it was so much fun seeing them like, okay, I've never tried a 14-foot wall. And you had like this steady stream of women just beating the crap out of that wall. I was like, yeah, that was just awesome to see. Because not all gyms have a 14-foot wall. And for the record, that is higher, because I think Sasuke's 12 or 13. And I think A&W's is also 12 or 13. And so
I think it's 13.
And the hard thing is that this specific wall is very shallow.
Yeah. So
you're literally going straight up, and not many people have that opportunity to do so. And then you had other ones where, actually have a partial video of Travis in the third stage, starting from the third stage, going, okay, time me. I want to see where I am, because he's coming in from a broken wrist. So wants to see how he's doing in his recovery. But it was such a beautiful atmosphere, and all I kept thinking of is, this is Ninja Warrior, like my Sasuke. This is the spirit. They weren't there for money. They weren't there for fame. There were no television cameras, no parading around in front of people. No, this was, I am training. I'm in hardcore mode. In fact, some of them knew that they were going to be competing in like 2 weeks. And it was an intense competition, but it was such a friendly atmosphere. And if anybody has any inclination of watching, because with the success of this season, I hope that they have another National Ninja League, so
we'll get to
anybody
that in a minute.
Yeah, anybody can enter. So it was such an, if anybody has an opportunity to go, because that was such an amazing event. Like, I'm so happy you told me to go. My body's telling me, oh God, at least exercise before that so you don't die so quickly. But I adored it. I was a phenomenal experience.
All right, so let's talk about my experience then.
Yes.
So I woke up about 5:30 in the morning on Saturday. Drove from Long Island to Hainesport, New Jersey.
God bless you.
Got a little confused on where the location was, because I can't read numbers apparently. When I got there, There was the weather for Saturday is like the worst that you can have temperature wise because it was really hot in that building and it was pretty cold outside.
Oh God, yes.
So when you're switching between the two environments, it doesn't feel nice either way. But when I got there, I got my press badge, and I noticed that the photo that they used is not the photo that I submitted.
Neither was mine.
So what happened was, well, you see, at least we know where your photo came from.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So I submitted my photo to Arsenet, who then passed it on over to Chris, supposedly. Somehow, I asked about this. Somehow there was some kind of error with you sending the photo. I don't know how, but something went wrong.
Okay.
So what happened was one of Chris's staff members. It wasn't Chris who made the badge, but she did a Google search for my name and used one of the photos from that on my badge. What the crazy thing is, I tried looking up my name on Google and doing an image search. I cannot find that photo. I legit,
she should work for the NSA.
I'm not sure where this photo came from. I'm pretty sure it's not on my Facebook. I could be wrong, but as of right now, I still don't know where she got this photo from. I mean, she's right. It is a photo of me, but I just
correct one.
She was correct, but it's like.
Did I spell your last name correct?
I actually don't know. I never. Hold on.
I'm going on memory.
Let's see here. Marchese. Yeah, you're right.
Yay!
Good. So yeah. So I got my own badge, and man, I gotta be honest. I was like a nervous wreck before going to the gym, because here's the thing. It's like I've never. Because I was officially considered press at this event, and I've never done anything like this before. And so,
I haven't done it in 20 years.
And there was like legit concerns. Like I bought a new memory card, I bought a spare battery and a separate charger for the battery for my cameras, and thank goodness I did, because yes. I would not have been able to record every run if I didn't have a spare battery.
I burned through 3 of them. All 3 of mine, I burned right through them.
But I was like, I don't know, because I've never done anything like this before. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and when I eventually get the footage out, like, some of the early ones might be a bit sloppy because trying to figure out everything still. It was really hot where I was. Very hot.
I was above you, man. Heat rises. It was worse up there.
Yeah.
You were doing a lot more work, though. A lot of more physical work. So there was.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out work, like, how do I move? Where do I shoot? And all that. Because stage 1's all over the place in that gym. And so
it literally ran around you.
Yeah. Yeah, twice even.
Yes, twice. Oh my God, I never thought of it. Yes, twice.
But what happened?
Wow.
But basically, so I have to be a little bit honest here. I had a lot of fun. Like I don't want to put it out as a lot of fun. I am disappointed in my in what I accomplished there. I did record every run, but I feel like. I got some interviews with some of the competitors, and thank you to everyone who was willing to take some time to talk to me. But I think at the end there was like this feeling that I should have done more, and I know that I could have done more because especially during day 1, I'll admit I was a bit intimidated and a bit apprehensive in asking people like, oh, hey, because like even people who kind of knew me, it's like, I don't know. I got this, weird thing sometimes, and it's just kind of like I wish I had asked more people to talk to. And by the time by the time I was more willing to ask people to talk to me, it was already too late.
Yeah. See, we actually both went in with the exact same thought pattern, because I'm like, okay. Once I realized I had a press pass, I'm like, oh God. At the same time, like with anything, it's a learning experience. You did a lot of work, a lot more than you give yourself credit for. I was completely woefully unprepared. My camera needs to go bye-bye. I mean, I am still rocking a 2007 was it 2000? No, it's a 2010 Sony Handycam.
Right.
And that needs to go bye-bye. I don't have the money to replace it right now, so that was all I had. And
that reminds me, I'm going to need some of your footage, especially the people who failed the trampoline obstacle.
Yes, I have all of those.
Okay, because some of those were pretty awesome, to be honest.
Well,
there was even one moment where like I think a guy did like a full flip in the air when he failed.
Yes.
And as soon as I was done recording, I pointed at you and said, "Did you get that?" And
yes,
you said,
"Yeah."
And
I had the yeah.
And I was like, "Yes."
The dip in quality is going to be stark, and you can tell which camera is yours and which camera is mine.
I don't care. I'd rather have the footage.
I am praying that I'll have that replaced by Japan if there is a... Oh God, I hope there's another Japan. But anyway, happy thoughts. Yeah. I am crossing fingers, but I am going with the positive attitude that I'm already looking into replacements, and Gene's going to be helping them. It's a whole lot easier to replace it in Japan because the prices change drastically in Japan.
Right.
So, but but in the process, in fact, I'm happy where I stood and how I ended up doing this, because I paid attention to where you were, and you were in the center. In fact, I didn't see anything in the front. I didn't see I can see somebody standing in the back. I didn't see any of the obstacles because of where the that wall in the center blocked the landing of the trampoline. I didn't see the trampoline. Right. I saw when they failed because either they caught onto the cargo net or they didn't. So I immediately can tell what had happened, and of course all the crowd going in and out. And then I can see the loop around. So I got the loop around for some, not all of them. And then some of the trampoline onto the unstable bridge. I got some of those. Now the ones that I did get, if they got past it, went all the loop around. I didn't see any of the sonic curve or none of that, because the wall where you would run up, that completely blocked my entire view. So the way I recorded it was I would if I saw that they had passed the Domino Hill and they were about to jump, because I don't think anybody missed that jump right before the warp wall.
Actually, one guy did.
I totally launched. I probably waited to hear if they got to the wall. In fact, I missed a lot of, because I can only see their fingers if they grabbed onto it. So usually I can gauge by what time of the day, who it was, and I can... I started getting pretty good in how far they were going by how they looked earlier because if they had if they were struggling to get towards the first part, I knew they weren't going to survive getting past the sonic curve or the grippy things on the peg thing. The peg thing. I'm like, no, they don't have any strength left after having a difficulty with that. So I had everything from the top of the wall, and everybody did this. Either they waited a long time because this was the hourglass drop, one half of it at least, So they would jump onto the trampoline from the top of the warp wall, jump onto the trampoline, pray that they caught onto the ropes, and then they had to traverse the ropes, and then they would land right in front of me. Like it, literally, I can just put half of my hand out, and they would touch my hand. That's how close they were. They were right on top of me. So people that were following me on Twitter saw some of those photos. Right. So, my husband would stand next to me, and provided he wasn't shooed off by some people that were just... We need a better camera because you can't really command a press pass with an iPhone. So I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Somebody sees a DSLR and they get the hell out of the way. So I need a DSLR too. But anyway... Either way, so he had, and luckily, at least with his height, he was able to get a lot of photos that way. So, put it above me, and because he's much taller than I am. And so I had my camera, so at least I would stand there, and so people noticed that I was doing that. And then, Don would be standing behind me to take the photos. And some of those saves and whiffs on the hourglass drop was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, that was...
Jeff had actually put on his Instagram and then retweeted it on Twitter, his epic save on the hourglass drop, because what some people did, because the time to clear the first stage was actually quite generous. It was it 240 or something like that?
230.
Okay, so 230. So usually the ones that definitely cleared had a pretty good amount of time, at least 30 seconds going into the hourglass. So what you were allowed to do is that if you jumped and you committed, like to grab, because you were only allowed one drop onto it and then jump onto the rope.
Yeah, one bounce.
However,
you can test
it so long as you bounce right back up onto the wall, and that was not your attempt.
Yeah.
I can tell some of them were going, "Oh, that's a bail," and then they just jump backwards, so that won't be considered. But
the ruling was if you go past the plane of where the trampoline ends, that's considered your jump.
Well, especially because there was a pretty serious injury where somebody jumped forward, his ankles buckled underneath, and his both shins racked that end, and I would assume there's no padding there. It's just
that's very, if there is padding, it's very light.
Yeah, it took him 10 minutes to get him out of the pit.
Yeah,
what's on the other side is the like a spongy thing.
It's a foam pit.
It's a foam pit. Yeah, there we go.
It's a foam pit.
And
he
expected
was
to see
actually
blood, and he didn't. So he was able to walk
actually the first guy to attempt that obstacle of the day.
That was rough.
And I was right there, and everyone who was part of the staff that was with me right there, we all had the same reaction. Yeah. And I was just like oh.
From where I was, I heard his shins hit, and everybody's going, oh, and then we're like,
but
oh
it's
god.
Like,
oh god.
and it was the speed at which he fell.
Yeah. He committed.
Yeah.
He committed, but then
committed.
Don called the ankles instantly. He goes, "Oh God, ankles!" I don't know if I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it on the video or not, but that's the first thing he goes, "Ankles, just ankles." Just,
but yeah,
and I'm like, "What?" And then, ow, saw it. And I'm like, "Oh."
But he actually, I think he's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, he was able to. It took him a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, they got him out, but
just
yeah,
the sting, then he was able to walk very slowly past, and it was just from that point on, you had like 6 guys watching in every direction, and if anybody fell, like especially the 360 windmill into the foam pit, well, epically funny. And it was funny is that
some of them need help because of how...
Yeah, so
like
the 360 one, as soon as it happened, you had everybody going, like, first it was funny, and then, oh God, is he okay? And then you would have a couple of the guys, and you can hear the guy laughing at the bottom of the foam pit. They're like, dude, you okay? He goes, that was awesome.
Yeah, usually they're like, yeah, I'm okay.
Like, obviously, it rattled them, so just waiting until sort of like the shock wore off, like, whoa.
You didn't see this, but I actually jumped into the foam pit from the trampoline.
Really?
I didn't do the full obstacle. I started from the trampoline and bounced into the foam pit, and I got a first person view camera shot of it.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
So that's
I
going
was too
up at
chicken.
some point.
I did not touch any of the obstacles because I probably would have busted something.
The thing is that like the entire weekend, I kept, because of where I was standing the entire time, I kept slowly like, walking on top of the trampoline and maybe getting a little bounce, and because here's the thing, I have a bit of a fear of falling. It's a very specific fear because it's not a fear of heights. Because if I'm like on a chairlift or something, I'm not afraid because I have a safety bar. It's all good. But it's that feeling of I'm going to fall. That's when I get worried.
Complete loss of control.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might edit part of the video if I upload it, but there's a portion where I keep going to bounce, but like I cannot commit to that last bounce to go at all. I keep like, and there's these people who are like waiting to go. I'm just like, I'm sorry, just hold on. I can do this. And yeah, and the thing is with that foam pit, I had a hard time getting out of that foam pit.
Yeah.
That thing is not easy to get out of. It's crazy.
Rico was funny. Rico was taking a whole bunch of photos, like jumping in and out of the foam pits, and I was taking photos of him doing, like dual handstands, and it was funny because everybody had fun with those foam pits, but they all had the same trepidation going, if I miss that jump, I am going head first into the side of this platform.
Yeah.
Because so like you needed that bounce jumping from the top of the wall to be able to get full height, to be able to even if you whiffed grabbing the ropes. The Jeff one was hilarious, like in competition, and he already has that up on his channel, but it's just I saw his face. He missed with one arm, grabbed with the other, and then just like willed himself across those ropes.
My favorite, my favorite was still Jojo Bino. Because he missed the first rope and grabbed the second one. And I don't know, and it's one of those things where it's like I was talking about with some of the guys there. It's like if that rope was an inch shorter, he would have been screwed.
Yeah. And the thing is, you saw unobstructed what it looked like from the back.
Yeah.
I saw their faces.
Yeah.
And their faces were like, no, like, hell no, I ain't going. Don't Superman that. Batman, I don't care what. It was so funny because their faces, and then of course their faces when they missed, it's like, yeah. It was just, I had like the perfect spot. So the following day, I was trying to figure out where I was going to position myself, and you kept the same position. So you saw the beginning, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab the ends. And of course, the second day was hard because the second stage, I was right in the middle of where the athletes were.
Yeah, well,
so I'm like,
you had
because
to stand
there was very little space. So I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna grab this camera, have it over my arms. Dude, I have massive shoulder injuries. I've had 2 surgeries on them. And I'm like, my arms were burning. I'm like, I probably lost about 10 pounds in this day. I certainly hope so. And I had to, I whipped myself around. And each time I did that, I'm like, I am not going to complain. There are, I think we're, 22 runs in the second stage?
21.
Yeah. And only like
7.
No.
Oh, sorry.
7, 9... 12, 10 made me loop around because 2 failed right at the end, and then some other ones missed on the transition behind me, and a couple on the side. So only 2 made it at the end, and but for the most part, every single time I was about to complain that my arms hurt, I'm going, William had it worse because you did 174.
Yeah, I did a few. I don't know. It wasn't too bad. Actually, my problem wasn't the arms. My problem was my hand up against the camera, getting all sweaty, and the camera. Okay, funny story time. My camera got very hot,
Yeah.
and there was a point on day 2, and it was in between stages 2 and 3. I go upstairs to record stage 3. My camera's very hot, and I'm trying to figure out how do I cool this camera down. So right next to me is the concessions, and they have like one of those little refrigerators full of body armor drinks that you could purchase.
Yeah, cooler.
So I thought, well, I'm just gonna put my camera in that refrigerator, and it worked. It cooled down. Yeah.
Yeah, I had mine where it was it was heated, and then like I don't know, it was like I had like sweaty palm syndrome. So between runs, because again I couldn't see the beginning part. Now I got the majority of the second stage. The third stage I was completely obstructed because I was upstairs right in front of the flying barn.
I was able to actually stand in the area where they're competing, but just out of the way. So I was able to get footage of the beginning parts and then the later parts, and yeah. So recording was actually pretty fun. I got once I got into the groove of things. The courses were fun. Philip and Alex from SMF were there working on the live stream. They were fun to hang out with and talk to, and occasionally I would chime in with some of the commentary as well. I know both James McGrath and Ryan Stratus helped out with the commentary, and Drew Jessel was there at one point. I don't know if he helped with the commentary, but he was there. That was a lot of fun. Like talking to like the staff people and those guys who were all there during the course and stuff. Like that's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where it's like like you don't know each other. I mean, I know Phil and Alex, but I didn't know who the refs were.
I didn't either. That was the first time I ever met them.
And you can just talk because like you have this common interest.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I was made sure I had liquids and solids in me.
Yeah.
And I was able to talk to a few people to do some interviews. As of this recording, some of them are up, and by the time you listen to this, there'll probably be more up. I was able to conduct interviews with Chris Wilczewski, Michelle Warnke, Travis Rosen, Jojo Bynum, Louis Mosso, Perry Osterley. Osterley? Okay. And did I say Travis Rosen? Travis Rosen?
Yes.
And I also got an interview with both Ryan Stratus and Michael Bernardo at the same time. Unfortunately, somehow the audio got corrupted.
Yeah.
From I don't know how, but the audio for that video is just a loud buzzing sound. It's like my camera censored the entire video. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I could even recreate that problem. It only happened for that one.
It could have been something simple like the jack wasn't completely in, or there was dirt on it. It could have been many things.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate. Worst cases you can use some of the because Bernardo and they're physical, so you can actually get to see some of the stuff that they did.
Yeah. What I mean, I'm gonna talk to them. We can see if we can arrange maybe a redo over Skype.
It was a phenomenal conversation because it was.
Yeah, and I think what really hurt the most about that one is that's the interview I felt like I did the best job at.
Yeah.
And I think it might partially be because Ryan has known me for years and is
Yeah.
very friendly, and I admire Mike Bernardo's muscles very much. And dude,
Look, we even
I don't
had
know,
DBZ references in there.
I don't know. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't know if you can tell in the video. I every time I talked to Bernardo, I just kept looking at his arm. I'm like, that's such a well sculpted arm. Actually, you know what? That reminds me of a few things I want to talk about. I remember when I was first talking to Michael Bernardo, and I mentioned that I don't remember. When I believe the conversation came up that I was here with you, and he said, "Oh, are you the person who does the Final Stage podcast with Arsenet?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh yeah, I listen to that when I work out and stuff." And I'm just like, "You listen to my podcast?"
Yep.
And there was like, I became really self-conscious all of a sudden.
Oh!
And it's going to be really weird because he's going to be listening to this and he's going to hear the part where I just complimented his muscles. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you have like really good arm muscles, and like they're crazy.
I had one. Who was it? I believe it was. Was it Rico?
I don't know.
I think it was one of the competitors. And forgive me, I think it was Rico. And if it isn't, I'm sorry. We were talking about we were talking about whether or not I was recognized. I don't remember the context of how we got there, because again, I was so surprised that anybody knew who the hell I was. And they're like, so it was someone's girlfriend, and they said, "Oh, she knows who you are because she watched the Sasuke history on that I did at the convention at Anime Next." And I just turned beet red, like, somebody else watched that? They're like, "Oh, it was just really, really good." And like, I can only see all of the mistakes that I did, all the that I did, all of the things that I totally screwed up, where my brain shut off and I completely forgot dates. I mean, it's just like all of the critiquing mistakes that I did. Just I'm like, oh my god, somebody watched it. I'm like, dude, wait, somebody's girlfriend saw that. And so I'm like, I am standing in front of this dude's girlfriend. And this is how she knows me. Oh, she must be disappointed right now. That's what I kept thinking in my head. So when you're mentioning that, we're like, they're like, oh wow. The same thing with a podcast. It wasn't somebody that was there. It was Rich from Armchair Ninja Podcast is like, "Oh, remember that big snowstorm? I'm so glad that you guys are on iTunes, because I hooked it up and it took my iPod, and that kept me busy while I was shoveling out the family for 3 hours." And I'm like, "Ooh, that's kind of strange." It's sort of like how people read it, where like if somebody has a long commute, it's great because they sit in a long commute and they go sit and listen to this content. Because I was a little worried sometimes, because we can go for fairly long, but we also don't do it every week. So if it was 2 or 3 hours every week, it's a little bit different, but we condense an entire month. And so sometimes I wonder, do we break it up or whatever? It's kind of impossible when we're right in the middle of the season.
Right.
But especially this one is like epically long. This is probably going to be the longest we've ever had. But it was, it was something that like people liked it. I'm like, wow, really? Thank you. So it was like a half ego stroke there. It was like, thank you. But it was.
I remember. So I really hope Rich has listened to last month's episode.
I don't know. You can ask him. He's on Twitter.
I wonder what his reaction was to my intro last month.
Oh, he was confused. He was no. I explained it, and then all of a sudden, and then he went to check, because he's like, "But I thought we were friendly," and I'm like, "Did you?" No, he goes, the fine. Oh, that makes it okay. That's really funny. Nothing, because like whenever he has any questions, and the same thing when I have questions on.
Wait, he thought I was being serious?
Well, that was the point. He goes, "But they've been really nice." So he goes, "I must be missing the joke," and then he sent me the message. And it's it's a whole lot easier rather than doing that we do this on DMs all the time, because it's like there are times where he goes through, like when he's running through Sasuke history, he has zero of it. He's never watched it. He's never watched any of the G4 stuff.
Right.
And which is his own thing, because that was also an arena, and over the weekend I ran into people that have never seen the G4 version, and I was having that conversation with Travis Rosen, and sort of like, oh boy, I don't even know where to start that conversation. Because they have zero Sasuke knowledge.
Speaking of Travis Rosen, so I've met Travis Rosen once. 4 years ago, and he remembered who I was.
Where did you meet him?
At the back when the Movement Lab was called the Warrior Lab for Pro Ninja Warrior Weekend.
Oh my God, that's right. You had videos of that.
Yeah. That was back in 2012, and I'm just like, and he remembered who I was. And I'm just like, how do you remember who I am?
Yeah, he knew exactly who you were. Full name and well, the fact that I had to, like, where I was saying that, like, he remembered my nickname was Elsie, because no one calls me Elsie. You get the occasional guys here and there because it's not even the older ones, it's sort of like the newer ones. It's sort of like, I don't want to sound as if they're trying to be coy about it, because they're not, and I've known them long enough that they're not doing that, but nobody calls me Elsie. And it's not that I wouldn't be upset if somebody called me Elsie. I would not at all upset at all. That is,
by the way,
legit nickname.
for the longest time, I thought it was Elise, not Elsie.
You're not the only one that's it's Elsie.
Okay,
and
so that was like,
that was so weird.
Yeah, I mean, Travis is like such a nice guy.
He's such a sweet guy,
I'm
so happy.
Totally jealous of the fact that he's 41 and has more black hair than I do.
Dude, at least you have hair. You know how many people didn't in that competition?
Well, yeah. We'll see. But no, everyone who I talked to was like super nice when I did an interview. I cannot say this enough, but like, thank you, because I know some of you guys had no idea who I was, and and that's fine. I wasn't like expecting you to know who I was, but I like, dude, when I asked JoJo Bynum for like an interview, I was so nervous that like just asking him.
I wasn't there, so I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that was I really like talking to him. He sounds like a really cool dude. The Michelle Wonky one was a bit unexpected.
You have my husband to blame for that.
I think they would have done it regardless.
Oh, I know, but they asked.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was so funny because I had no idea. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, huh? Because I was distracted because Perry was standing next to me. He'd come around, and we were sitting there, like talking, and then, but he was also just as interested because he's seen her in Malaysia as well. They had competed at the same competition, and so that was the last time he saw her. And so he was interested in what you guys were talking about, and I thought it was really interesting because those are questions I would have probably never asked before. So I'm like, this is awesome. I as each interview you did better and better and better, which I thought was actually pretty cool. And
oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was like, you do a lot of good work. You don't give yourself enough credit, and so so all of a sudden I catch in the corner of my eye everybody kind of huddling and then like laughing, and then they're talking to Don, and I'm like, and all of a sudden what came out in the video, but they had originally asked, this is what we want to do. Do you think it's okay? And he's like, go for it. So I didn't know until all of that, and I just thought that was so funny. You can hear my stupid cat, and I was pretty far. The fact that I was laughing that hard that your microphone caught me.
Actually, my microphone was actually way better than I thought it was going to be, and I'm very glad that it worked better than I expected it to, with the exception of that one time. But but it picked up a lot better, which I'm glad for. And like, obviously I didn't know that was going to happen because my back was to them. But rewatching the video, you could just see the progression of them kind of, coming in and being like, oh, should we do this?
Hey, I loved it because you were absolutely crippled. It just, you can also tell how exhausted you were. So it literally just shut you down for a couple of seconds, and I could not stop laughing. So between Michelle desperately trying to stand up because she is absolutely hosed.
She was not feeling well.
Was so sick,
sick.
And just it was just, I felt so bad for her, but but she was awesome, and she's like, okay, so long as my voice hangs, I'm totally cool with this. And then that happened. It was just epic.
By the way, another reason that I'm so bummed that the Bernardo Stratus interview got corrupted is because I got Ryan to laugh in the beginning when I introduced him as former Sasuke competitor, former A&W competitor, former ANC competitor, former team captain of Team Ninja Warrior, and former zombie Ryan Stratus. and that got him to laugh, and I'm glad. And for those of you who don't know, he has played a zombie on The Walking Dead as as an extra, so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, he has a full career.
Yeah, and now, well, yeah, that's the one that I remember that he was on. So, also that reminds me, I got Chris to laugh a few times when he was doing obstacle introductions.
Yeah.
During stage 1,
and
the first one was totally by accident because like he was introducing the unstable bridge, and he's like, oh, you gotta grab that, and you gotta jump down to the platform, and I'm where the platform is, and I just like instinctively motion to the ground.
You were Vanna White.
Yeah, exactly. You
do realize I believe I might have that on camera?
Fine, go ahead. And that got him, and all of a sudden I noticed he started to laugh a little.
Yes.
And I realized, oh my god, I should start messing with him more. So every time I just started to get a little bit more silly when helping him out, pointing out the obstacle.
I kept thinking, like, like some crossing guards that sort of like start making this dance, or I've even seen air traffic controllers, not the controllers, like the ones on the ground that are pulling over, and it's like away to the right, underneath, and it's just. It was so funny, and then all of a sudden you would hear like a crack coming from, like, you have the voice, because he has to do the same thing over and over because there's different crowd for each of the sessions, because that's how they separated the sessions. So you paid from 10 o'clock to 12, and then you'd clear the arena, and then 12 to 2.
Right.
And then, exactly. So each time he would go through the course, tell everybody how long it is, what they have to do, what the different rules are, and whatever. And then, of course, he's going through each section. And so all of a sudden, he catches you basically, underneath with the left and the right and down. And I'm like, what is he doing? At one point, you look like a swan. It was just so funny. So I'm hoping I have that, because that was epic.
Yeah. I want him to laugh. I want him to laugh. That was the point. As soon as I realized what I could do, my goal was to make him laugh every time.
I am still surprised the man was still standing. He works so freaking
oh my
hard.
God. I asked him afterwards. There was just a huge sense of relief when it was all over.
Yeah. Well, running any event to begin with, and then I was just so happy. I mean, you had, with any event, you had some hiccups here and there. But it was such a phenomenal thing. I hope he does it again. I hope more, gyms participate. And
So, so a few quick things. So the format of, let's just quickly, kind of go about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
The first stage, there was actually quite a few obstacles. I have to go back and count how many obstacles there actually were, but
yeah, it was quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know how many people actually competed, because not everyone who was on the list showed up.
174.
Well, there was 174 people on the list. Not
no,
all
there
of
were
them showed up.
187.
There was no.
Really?
Yes, I have the list right here.
Huh.
The list has 174 people listed on it, and I know for a fact not everyone showed up.
Okay, so there was probably closer to...
Let's say 160.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High 50s, low 60s.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, that's still a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the course was run very efficiently. Each session finished faster than I thought it would, to be honest.
He was right on point. I mean,
Yeah,
exactly when he said,
knew,
everything was perfect.
He's been doing this for, I think, since 2011 in some form.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, because he's been doing the Pro Ninja Warrior weekends, I believe, since 2011.
Yeah.
And those always have these types of competitions.
Did they have the amount of people? Because I don't remember seeing that amount of people.
I don't think it's the they probably didn't have the amount, but still, it's like because they were staggered into groups, it makes it more easy. And so he has experience doing this at this point, and it shows because it was done very efficiently, very effectively. They gave themselves enough time so that if something goes wrong, like either because someone gets injured or they have to review some footage to see if someone failed or not.
Yeah.
They all took that into consideration. Everything went very well. We had 21 people pass stage 1.
22.
And then for stage 2, we had it was a shorter course. They had a 1:30 time. It was fair, but
it was tight. Oh God,
yeah.
It was tight.
It was tight. Like the time limit made sure you didn't have time to like lollygag. Yeah. But it was fair though. I'd say.
Yeah.
We had 7 people clear that, and then they had to move on to the third and final stage, where it was whoever went the furthest, the fastest was the champion.
Yeah.
And so, of the 7 people, the winner was Jeff Britton.
Yep. So nobody actually cleared the stage. He got within 2 rungs.
Yes. The final obstacle was the flying bar. He failed at the end. No one else made it to the flying bar, so his time did not matter. Mm-hmm. And he is the champion in the men's division. He and the best performing female was Jessie Lebrec. Mm-hmm. And the 2 of them, they got medals. They got gold medals. They get their name inscribed in the Infinity Trophy that they bought, which is a pretty nice looking trophy. And they each get $1,000 in cash.
Yay!
Which is substantially less than the $1 million that Jeff was denied. But
that was so cute. They're like, "I'm sorry, this is $1 million." He's covering his face, like, "Oh man."
Jeff got embarrassed every time he was introduced as the first American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
He was like, "Look, it was no big deal. I just, beat 6 obstacle courses. Anyone could do it."
I was so happy because everyone treated him as a champion as he is. He's a champion.
Because everyone knows he's a champion.
Yeah.
It's like there's no illusion amongst the people who compete and are part of the community. Like they know who he is.
Yeah.
They're not gonna let NBC tell them.
Yep.
What to think. And yeah, so it was a really fun event to watch, and hang out with people, talking to people. It was all a lot of fun. Like I said, I wish I could have done more, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I forgot my tripod at the gym, which
he found it?
Yes, that's the good news, is that he found it. So we're gonna arrange getting that to me, but I have no idea how I forgot my tripod. Because
I honestly believe that was sheer exhaustion because my brain was shutting down by the end of that.
I had it with me the entire time.
Yeah, I know, but if all of a sudden it's like get in car, get home.
I must have forgotten it at the very last second. It was crazy.
All you need to do is just get distracted for 5 seconds, and just like that, I do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I was busy saying goodbye to everyone, and I don't know. But you asked about, you're hoping that they'll do this again. I talked to Chris. Mm-hmm. They are doing it again.
Yay!
However, he also said, "Oh, hey, will you be willing to, come back next year to cover the event?" Here's the thing. The finals, he told me, are going to be in San Francisco next year. To make it more fair to the West Coast people, they're, making
is it going to be in Brian's?
Easier for them. He didn't say where. He didn't say what gym. It could be, but he didn't say which. It could be. He didn't say what
there's
gym.
3 movement labs: the one that Michelle Warnke runs, the one that Chris runs, and the one that Brian runs.
Is that new?
Yep.
I wasn't aware of the third one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I just straight up told him I can't make any promises because it's the other side of the country.
Yeah.
So if anyone's wondering if I'll cover the event next year, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't not make any promises, but what I can promise is that I have a whole bunch of footage from the National Ninja League Finals. The plan right now is to upload the interviews first.
Yep.
And then I'm probably going to do a montage and then actually start uploading every single run. Okay. And I'm going to have to see what I can get away with uploading because there was a lot of music playing in the background.
Oh, yeah.
And I was right next to the speakers.
Yep.
Things are going to get flagged.
In fact,
on YouTube.
The Twitch, when I went to see, I picked one. I think at that particular point, it was the last one that was running. That was on the first day, and I'm like, oh, there is a Twitch, and I went to check it because just to see what it looked like because it recorded everything. There were entire sections where the Twitch bot, whenever it finds any copyrighted music, they just had blank in the streams.
Quick question: was the blank one in the beginning? Because the first session, the microphone wasn't working; they had no audio.
No. This was during Jeff's run.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. That's what happens.
When I'm like, what is this bar? Because I had forgotten. It's been a while since I've seen
Twitch.
I've seen a lot of Twitch, but I see it live. I don't. Right. But this was the on-demand portion. All of a sudden, I just saw the bar, and I'm like, let me check. And I clicked it, and it was right in the middle of Jeff's run. And I'm like,
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, for example, during Drew's, I didn't check because that was the following day. For this purposes, I didn't check. Drew's run had very much a copyrighted music. In fact, he asked for the music to be louder when he was about to do the cliffhanger. And dude, that was a crazy cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? Maybe Sasuke should use that one next year.
I'm hoping they just get rid of it.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
That we've already had.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, I had a lot of fun, and
me too.
I already did a couple of blogs. I did basically a quick overview first day, second day with no results, and then
by the way, speaking of you doing a couple of blogs, I'm sleeping in your apartment. And at one point during the morning, because I'll admit I didn't have the best sleep that night, and just because I was having congestion issues and just and stuff. And at one point I'm trying to go to sleep, And what do I hear coming from one of your rooms? And I just hear tap 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 tap, and it's like she's writing a blog.
I'm so sorry. I was waiting for something to download, and so I'm like, okay, let me do a second. And I have a mechanical keyboard, so I didn't stay up
I've
that
noticed.
long, okay? I waited till it was done. Dude, it was like 15 minutes after you went to bed. 15 minutes. That's
No,
it.
I'm talking about in the morning.
Oh, in the morning? Well,
Yeah.
you should have gotten up. We were supposed to go somewhere else and like have
It was
breakfast.
like 6:30. It wasn't. I didn't have to get up yet. The thing started at 11. I didn't have to get up at 6:30.
You do realize how much I'm a light sleeper. There you go. So when everybody's talking about like, dude, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. What the hell's she doing up? That's what happens. I sleep for like 3 hours and then I'm inexplicably awake. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm like, there's no point in me trying to go to bed because if I was going to fall asleep, it's 10 o'clock already. And the event starts at 11 and I have to drive over. And yeah, so I just decided to commit and there we go. I'm like, okay, so I'll do a blog. And that's what I did.
Yeah, all I know is that it's a good thing I buy 5-hour energy before I go on these trips. Otherwise there would actually be like a serious concern when driving. In this case, driving home, it would have been a serious concern if I didn't have something. Yeah. But I did, so it was all good.
Sorry.
By the way, traffic was good going both ways, so
that's extremely surprising because you never know. God.
Well, the turnpike was perfect.
Ow.
The only spot that gave me a little bit of trouble was actually when I first got into New York City.
Isn't it always that way though?
Well, usually it's when I get to Staten Island.
Okay.
It gets bad. But even Staten Island was good this time.
Usually anything approaching the George Washington Bridge or the Lincoln Tunnel, depending on what direction you're going. Yeah. Those two is like, ugh.
I take the Verrazano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, as soon as I was on Belt Parkway, though, things got slow. But then when I switched over, it was all good.
Cool. I'm happy because you were on fumes. And we were both on fumes. But I'm sitting there going, oh God, he has to drive home now.
If I seemed quiet Saturday night when
you were
I
just
got
trying
back
to survive.
To your place, it wasn't even that. It was just like I don't have like the desire to do anything.
Yeah.
At this point,
that was solid 14 hours of work. You know,
and I liked it.
Enjoyed it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but it was physically taxing. And I'm thinking in my head, and it was the thing that, again, where one of the things I'm trying to do is like, I try to compare it to people that have it worse than I do. And there's plenty of people that have it worse than I do. And I'm thinking, Chris is literally breaking down stage 1 and building stage 2 and stage 3 as I sit here.
Yes.
It's like he's got another 3 hours of the day and then attempt to go to sleep only to do the same thing the following day. So when I saw him the next day and I said, "Did you?" and he just shakes his head. He didn't sleep. So he was awake for 3 straight days with like little sleep. And then of course he was extremely generous in allowing a whole bunch of people to crash his place. So he had people sleeping on his floor and stuff. It's just like that he had no sleep. And I'm like, oh God.
I remember because I remember when because I know you took a photo of Bernardo coming in, looking all tired. I saw Drew right when he first got in. Drew looked like he was going to fall asleep right then and there when he first came in.
I don't think he slept. In fact, Chris walked up to him and said, "Are you?" He goes, "No." That was it.
Yeah. No, I was there. Like, I was there.
No. And then he just walked.
Drew,
and then instantly, because he came right at the time. In fact, they were waiting for him, going,
"Yeah."
God,
Drew was the last. Drew was the last person to show up at stage 2, and he got there right before everything got started.
So I was genuinely worried because, you know, you can tell he's having issues. If he had any sleep whatsoever, and it was just exhaustion. And then when he did his run, I'm like, oh God, is he gonna fall?
and
then he
yet
had
he
the freaking fastest time.
he finished in second place at the end of the day.
It was like, oh my,
Yeah. Actually, it's funny.
How does he do that?
I don't know. Actually, it's actually a little bit of insider info
Yeah.
for you. After the event was over, so Drew failed he drilled the rock climbing section.
Yeah, I think they call it the rock problem.
Yes, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
After the competition was over, he tried to do it again, or I don't know if he tried to do it again. He was at least talking to people about it.
Yeah.
And he basically mentioned that he's not a rock climber, and between this and him failing the rock climbing section of A&W Stage 3, he thinks he basically said that he should probably start doing rock climbing to train for those obstacles, because it's very much, it's become a problem, and so there you go. So maybe next time you see Drew attempt some rock climbing obstacles, he's going to do better because he has some practice.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there's some investigative journalism on my part.
I'm really interested now, having both tournaments, Sasuke 31 and A&W 7 both having winners. Oh God, those courses. 8 and 32 are going to be, oh my God.
I hope they go nuts. I hope that they come up with just the stupidest, most awesome obstacles that they can think of. Don't hold back.
Sharks with freaking lasers on their freaking heads.
I want seriously. I want I want obstacles with just, I don't know. Give me flying things flying through the air, or I don't know. Or just for the heck of it, have them bring back, the math parlay from Viking.
Oh God!
I want people to go, "What the heck is this?" Yeah, I want people to be shocked. Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Because if there's anything I've learned from the National Ninja League, because I watched all the videos that Chris posted from the recaps and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that people come up with some crazy ideas for obstacles.
Yep.
Some absolutely diabolical, how the hell is anyone supposed to do this, crazy ideas for obstacles. And I want that kind of creativity and insanity in my obstacle courses at this point.
Well, you'll probably see them in regionals, and they're coming right up.
Yeah. As long as they don't bring back the hourglass chop, because that was just stupid.
That was stupid.
Look,
it looks pretty. It just... If you want people to pass it, remove the fact that it's 95% luck.
Yeah, the problem is that there have been times in the past where Venice got a crappy obstacle, but they were able to make it easier for the regional finals.
Yeah.
You couldn't make the hourglass drop easier.
No.
I guess the closest you can do is I think maybe they tried tightening up the trampoline to give you a better bounce, but even then it's
it's jump
there's only
and pray.
so much exactly.
Yeah, the percentage of luck to skill was extremely low.
Yeah. But
well,
hopefully they'll learn from this. Exactly. And like I said, next year they're going to be on the West Coast for the National Ninja League finals. Obviously they're going to have all the regional, well, I say obviously, but they're going to have all the regionals again like they did this time around. So if you're interested in competing in the National Ninja League, go to nationalninja.com, and there's a YouTube channel that you could subscribe to too. I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's a link to it on National Ninja League website. You can find out all the info then. It'll have a list of the participating gyms. I'm in agreement with you, and I hope that we see more people and more gyms competing, because when you consider all the gyms put together, I imagine Jeff and Jesse were probably like the best of like probably about 1,000 people. They were the two winners.
There were a lot in each one. Even the one in a Movement Lab, the one in November. Yeah. That was a lot of people that went through there, and they only took top 5.
Yeah, and that's a great accomplishment to be the winner. Even though, there's not as much money, just to say that you're like the best of like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, if you're there's going to be videos from people besides me. Check those videos out. When I get the videos up eventually, check those out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know Chris is on Twitter. You can ask him. But yeah, like, I'm really glad that they did this. I would say that this was, especially considering this was their first time doing this, I would consider this to be a success.
Oh, God, yes. A very huge
success. And, and I hope, that they do nothing but improve for the second time around.
Yeah.
So I think we're both in agreement that the National Ninja League was pretty darn good this time. And we both enjoyed our time with them this past weekend.
Absolutely. That's like a lifetime memory. That was fantastic. And thank you, everybody, for being so welcoming of us. It was just surprising and humbling.
Yeah, and thank you to Chris and Brian and everyone else at the Movement Lab for inviting us to come as press, allowing us to come in.
Yeah.
Thanks again to just everyone that we talked to and everyone who was willing to do an interview and all that, and just anyone who made the experience fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.
And exactly. So here's to whenever the next time we're able to go.
Yep.
And on that note, thank you for listening to the Final Stage podcast. If you want to listen to us, we are found on iTunes. And also you can find us on youtube.com/222productions. We have new episodes every month. And if you want to help out with the hosting, it is completely optional, but you can choose to donate through the YouTube tip jar feature. Mm-hmm. And if you use iTunes, feel free to use the rating system to give us 5 stars and say nice things about us.
I'll read it.
She'll read it. It would be very appreciated. If you want to check out my stuff, you can find me on Twitter at 2D2Will, where I talk about obstacle courses, anime, wrestling, robots, and occasionally stupid stuff. Because none of that other stuff was stupid. You can also find some of my work at 2-2.com, where I talk about video games and anime and nerdy stuff like that. More content coming soon. And of course, you can check out stuff at 222productions.com, including coverage of the National Ninja League finals. Yay! Watch my interviews. They were fun.
They were a lot of fun.
And I don't know. I guess that's everything for me plugging. Plug yourself.
Oh, I can always be found on YouTube and Twitter. Both of them are Arsenet, ARSENETTE, and on ramblingregan.com. Your mic is a lot shorter. I'll be doing a lot more videos. I have them basically in order of lots of stuff that I'm working on, and I'm trying to catch up with the backlog plus introduce some of the new stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going to be on Rambling Regan, and I'm trying to develop more of the YouTube. And as a reminder for those that are leaving messages on my YouTube, I am reading all of them. Thank you very much. Until they lift the restriction on accounts that do not have Google Plus, I can't respond. So at worst, I'll probably end up doing another vlog and then answering some of your questions there. So if you do have questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll get to them on a future either blog or vlog. But yes, I am reading them, and thank you very much for the support. And I've actually gotten some more followers. Thank you. A little surprising. So yeah, then I appreciate it. So, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff. We're now in Sasuke and A&W seasons, so lots of stuff to cover. The next couple of weeks. So
time to get crazy.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah.
And on that note, we'll see you next month, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Interviewing with me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, look at that. We're on the same screen.
Exactly.
You prefer Will? William?
I go by William, but you can call me Will if you want.
William is fine if that's
Okay.
what you prefer.
All right. Of course, arsonists. Don't worry, I do it all the time.
Of course.
Of course.
When you're ready.
Sorry.
No rush.
I'll
wait.
I made myself laugh too much.
It's okay. I'm tickling you behind your back. No one knows.
Ah, well.
Hey.